The peaceful life of a calligrapher in Edo-period Kyoto. A 5-chapter bedtime story. Chapter 1. Morning in the stone-paved streets of Kyoto. You wake slowly, gently, as the first pale light of dawn filters through the thin shoji screens of your wooden home. The paper panels glow softly, like gentle lanterns, casting delicate shadows across the tatami mats beneath you. Outside, the stone-paved streets of Kyoto are beginning to whisper with the quiet footsteps of early morning. The year is 1750, and you are a calligrapher living in the peaceful Higashiyama district, where the ancient temples rest like sleeping giants among the rolling hills. Your futon is warm, soft, filled with cotton that was grown in the fields beyond the Kamo River. You stretch slowly, feeling the gentle give of the tatami beneath your body. These mats, woven from soft rush grass called igusa, have supported the sleep of countless generations. The sweet, earthy scent of the tatami mingles with the morning air, creating a fragrance that speaks of home, of tradition, of peace. Through the shoji screens, you hear the distant sound of wooden geta sandals clicking softly against the stones. Click, 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 a rhythm as old as Kyoto itself. The merchant who sells fresh tofu is making his morning rounds, calling out in a voice like a gentle bell. Tofu, fresh tofu. You rise slowly, placing your feet on the cool tatami. The woven grass feels smooth, almost silky, beneath your bare feet. Each mat is precisely 3 feet by 6 feet, a measurement that has remained unchanged for centuries. The borders are bound with dark fabric, creating perfect rectangles that seem to guide your movements across the room. Your sleeping yukata, made of soft cotton dyed the color of morning mist, moves gently around your body as you stand. The fabric was woven in nearby Nishijin, where skilled artisans have created textiles for over 1,000 years. The subtle pattern, barely visible, shows tiny cranes in flight, symbols of longevity and good fortune. You slide open one of the shoji screens, and the morning air enters your home like a gentle guest. The wooden frame, the wooden frame, the wooden frame of vintage textiles in the modern time, made from hinoki cypress, releases its subtle, calming fragrance into the air. This sacred wood, used in temples and shrines throughout Japan, carries with it the essence of ancient forests, of mountain streams, of centuries of prayer. The garden outside your window is small, intimate, designed in the style called tsubo niwa. A single stone lantern stands among carefully placed rocks, its surface covered with the softest green moss. The stones were selected for their natural beauty, each one representing mountains in miniature, creating a landscape that speaks to the soul without words. A small bamboo fountain, called suikinkutsu, releases drops of water into a buried ceramic vessel. The sound is like distant temple bells, gentle, rhythmic, eternal. Plink, plink, plink. Each drop a tiny meditation, a moment of pure sound in the silence of morning. You walk slowly to your small kitchen, your feet whispering across the tatami. The kitchen floor is made of smooth wooden planks, each one carefully fitted to the next, creating a surface worn smooth by generations of gentle use. The wood, zelkova, was chosen for its durability and its warm, honey-colored grain. On a low wooden shelf, your few dishes wait patiently. A ceramic bowl, glazed in the subtle blue-green called celadon, holds the promise of morning tea. The glaze was created using iron, fired in kilns that burn with the controlled breath of master potters. The technique, passed down through centuries, creates colors that seem to hold the sky itself. You light a small charcoal fire in your clay brazier, called a hibachi. The charcoal, made from oak trees that grew slowly in the mountains, burns with a clean, smokeless flame. The warmth spreads gently through the air, carrying with it the faint scent of mountain forests, of earth, of time itself. Water, drawn fresh from the well in your garden, begins to heat in a small iron kettle. The kettle, made by craftsmen in nearby Arashiyama, has been shaped by hands that learned their trade from their fathers and their fathers before them. The iron, rich with minerals from Japanese mountains, gives the water a subtle, earthy taste that enhances the tea to come. While the water heats, you step outside into your garden. The stone path, made from river rocks worn smooth by centuries of flowing water, feels cool and solid beneath your feet. Each stone was chosen not just for its beauty, but for the way it feels, the way it fits with its neighbors, the way it guides your steps in gentle curves toward the small tea pavilion at the garden's heart. The morning air is cool, fresh, carrying the scent of jasmine from a neighboring garden. The jasmine, planted by generations of Kyoto residents, blooms in cycles that mark the passage of seasons, the turning of years, the gentle rhythm of life in this ancient city. A small stream, no wider than your arm, flows along one edge of your garden. The water comes from springs high in the Higashiyama Mountains, traveling through channels that were dug by Buddhist monks centuries ago. The sound is constant, soothing, like the breath of the earth itself. You kneel beside the stream, cupping the clear water in your hands. It is cold, pure, tasting of mountain stones and morning mist. This water, the same water that flows past the great temples of Kiyomizu-dera and Gyeonggi, connects you to the thousands of people who share this ancient city, who wake each morning to the same gentle sounds, the same soft light, the same peaceful rhythms. The cherry tree in your garden, planted when your grandfather was young, stands bare in the early spring morning. Its branches, dark and smooth, reach toward the sky in graceful curves. In a few weeks, when the weather warms, these branches will burst into clouds of pale pink blossoms. But now, in the quiet of early spring, the tree rests, waiting, dreaming of the beauty to come. A small spider, its web stretched between two bamboo stalks, has caught the morning dew. Each droplet, perfect and round, reflects the soft light like tiny jewels. The spider, no bigger than your fingernail, moves with infinite patience, tending its creation with the same care that you bring to your calligraphy, the same devotion to beauty, to precision, to the small miracles of everyday life. You return to your kitchen, where the water now steams gently in the iron kettle. The sound, soft and rhythmic, joins the symphony of morning sounds. The distant temple bell from Kiyomizu-dera, the whisper of wind through bamboo, the gentle splash of the fountain, all blending into a melody that speaks of peace, of continuity, of the eternal present moment. You measure tea leaves into a small ceramic pot. The tea, sencha, was grown on the hillsides south of Kyoto, where morning mist creates the perfect conditions for delicate flavor. The leaves, rolled by hand into tight spirals, release their essence slowly, gradually, like secrets being shared with a trusted friend. The hot water, poured in a steady stream, awakens the tea leaves. Steam rises, carrying the fresh, grassy scent of spring, the promise of clarity and calm. You wait, breathing slowly, as the tea steeps in its own time, teaching you patience, teaching you to trust in the natural rhythm of things. The neighboring house, separated from yours by a narrow alley paved with smooth stones, begins to show signs of life. A shoji screen slides open, releasing the soft sound of voices, quiet, respectful, beginning their own morning rituals. The sound is comforting, a reminder that you are part of a community, part of a city that has practiced these gentle rhythms for over 1,000 years. You pour the tea into your celadon bowl, watching the pale green liquid swirl gently. The color, like new leaves, like morning sky, brings a sense of renewal, of fresh beginnings. The first sip is warm, delicate, carrying flavors of earth and grass and the patient work of human hands. As you drink, you hear the distant sound of a temple bell. The bronze, cast using techniques perfected over centuries, creates a tone that seems to linger in the air long after the striker has fallen silent. The sound travels across the city, marking the hour, reminding all who hear it of the passage of time, the preciousness of each moment, the beauty of impermanence. Your breakfast waits on a low wooden table, simple, nourishing, beautiful in its simplicity. A bowl of rice, each grain perfect and white, grown in terraced fields that climb the mountains like steps to heaven. The rice was polished by hand, grain by grain, until it achieved the pure color of fresh snow, the subtle sweetness that speaks of patient cultivation. Beside the rice, a small dish holds pickled vegetables, cucumber, radish, eggplant, preserved in rice bran and salt, using methods that transform ordinary vegetables into delicate treasures. The colors, pale green, soft white, gentle purple, please the eye, while the flavors, sour, sweet, complex, awaken the senses gently, gradually, like the coming of dawn. A piece of grilled fish, caught in the streams that flow down from Mount Inari, rests on a simple ceramic plate. The fish, ayu, has the sweet taste of clean mountain water, of stones and moss and the eternal flow of clear streams. It was prepared with nothing but salt and patience, allowing its natural flavors to emerge like poetry, like truth, like the essence of simplicity itself. You eat slowly, mindfully, each bite a meditation. The textures, soft rice, crisp vegetables, tender fish, create a harmony in your mouth, a symphony of simple pleasures. This food, grown in soil that has been cultivated for centuries, carries with it the labor of countless farmers, the blessing of rain and sun, the gift of the earth itself. You eat slowly, mindfully, each bite a meditation. The textures, soft rice, crisp vegetables, tender fish, create a harmony in your mouth, a symphony of simple pleasures. This food, grown in soil that has been cultivated for centuries, carries with it the labor of countless farmers, the blessing of rain and sun, the gift of the earth itself. Through your open window, the sounds of the city continue to build slowly, gently. The click of geta on stone, the soft calls of merchants, the rustle of silk as someone passes in the street. These sounds, layered like brushstrokes in a painting, create the background music of Edo period life, familiar, comforting, eternal. A cat, sleek and gray, appears in your garden. It moves with the fluid grace of water, stepping carefully between the stones, pausing to drink from your small stream. The cat, one of thousands that roam the streets and alleys of Kyoto, is both wild and domestic, belonging to everyone and no one, living by its own ancient wisdom. The morning light grows stronger, but remains soft, filtered through the thin clouds that often blanket Kyoto in spring. This light, gentle and diffused, is perfect for the work that awaits you. Too bright and the paper might glare. Too dim and the subtle variations in ink tone would be lost. But this light, this perfect morning light, creates the ideal conditions for the ancient art of calligraphy. You finish your tea, savoring the last drops, the lingering taste of mountain springs and patient cultivation. The empty bowl, still warm from the tea, rests in your hands like a small sun, a perfect circle that contains, for just a moment, the essence of satisfaction, of gratitude, of peaceful beginning. Your morning ablutions are simple, meditative. You wash your face and hands in water drawn from your well, water that has traveled deep underground, through layers of volcanic rock, emerging pure and soft, and perfect for the rituals of daily life. The water is cool, refreshing, cleansing not just your skin, but your spirit, preparing you for the day ahead. You dress in your working clothes, a simple kimono of undyed cotton that has grown soft with age and washing. The fabric, woven on looms that click and clatter in rhythm like wooden drums, has the texture of clouds, the comfort of familiar embrace. The color, natural white with hints of cream, provides the perfect backdrop for any ink that might stain your sleeves during the day's work. Your obi, the wide sash that binds your kimono, is dark blue, dyed with indigo that was grown and processed in villages beyond the mountains. The blue, deep as evening sky, was created through repeated dippings in vats where indigo leaves fermented slowly, patiently, releasing their color like secrets, like promises, like the deep peace of twilight. As you tie your obi, your movements are slow, deliberate, practiced. Each fold, each twist, each final knot follows patterns learned in childhood, patterns that connect you to your mother, your grandmother, to all the women who have dressed in this same careful way, who have begun their days with these same small rituals, these same moments of quiet preparation. The morning meditation comes naturally, as essential as breathing. You kneel on a small cushion, zabuton, filled with buckwheat hulls that rustle softly when you move. The sound, like gentle rain on leaves, helps to center your mind, to bring your attention to this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this perfect now. You close your eyes and feel the morning air move gently across your face. The air carrying the scents of jasmine and cherry blossoms and the distant smoke of breakfast fires fills your lungs slowly, completely. You exhale just as slowly, releasing tension, releasing hurry, releasing everything except this moment of pure being. In the distance, the great bell of Chian-in Temple sounds its morning call. The bronze, cast by master craftsmen using techniques passed down through generations, creates a sound that seems to emerge from the earth itself. Deep, resonant, eternal. The bell's voice travels across the city, reminding all who hear it of the Buddhist teaching that all things arise, exist for a time, and pass away, like morning mist, like dreams, like the gentle breath that flows in and out of your body. Your meditation deepens, your breathing slows, your mind becomes like still water, reflecting the sky, holding nothing, grasping nothing, simply being present to the miracle of consciousness, the gift of awareness, the profound peace that comes when thinking stops and pure experiencing begins. The sounds around you, the fountain's gentle plink, the distant temple bell, the soft rustle of bamboo in the morning breeze, become part of your meditation, not distractions, but teachers, showing you that peace is not the absence of sound, but the presence of harmony, not the cessation of movement, but the recognition of underlying stillness. Minutes pass, or perhaps hours. Time becomes irrelevant when the mind rests in its natural state. You exist in the eternal now, connected to the ancient stones beneath your house, to the sky above, to the generations of meditators who have sat just as you sit now, breathing just as you breathe, finding just as you find the inexhaustible well of peace that lies at the heart of all existence. When you open your eyes, the morning has progressed. The light is stronger now, though still soft, still perfect for the work ahead. You rise slowly, gracefully, your body refreshed by rest, your mind clear as mountain water, your spirit calm as a temple pond at dawn. You walk to your workroom, your feet silent on the tatami. This room, the most important space in your home, faces north, where the light is consistent throughout the day, where shadows do not shift and dance and distract from the precise work of brush and ink. The windows, covered with white paper screens, filter the light until it becomes soft, even, perfect for seeing the subtle gradations of black ink on white paper. Your writing desk, made from a single piece of kiyaki wood, sits low to the ground in the traditional style. The wood, from a zelkova tree that may have lived for centuries, has been polished until it glows with a deep, warm light. The grain, flowing like water, like wind, like the brushstrokes you will soon create, speaks of patience, of natural beauty, of the profound artistry that emerges when human skill meets the gifts of nature. On the desk, your tools wait in perfect order. Your inkstone, carved from slate quarried in the mountains of Yamashina, rests like a small, dark lake. The stone, chosen for its fine grain and its ability to grind ink to perfect smoothness, has been your companion for 20 years. Its surface, worn smooth by countless grinding sessions, holds the memory of thousands of characters, 10,000 brushstrokes, a lifetime of devotion to the art of beautiful writing. Your brushes, arranged in order of size from finest to broadest, stand ready in their wooden holder. Each brush, made from the finest animal hair, wolf, rabbit, sheep, bound to bamboo handles with silk thread, represents years of craftsmanship. The hair, selected for its ability to hold ink, to release it gradually, to create lines that flow like water, like music, like the breath itself, comes from animals that lived free in the mountains. Their sacrifice, honored by the beauty it makes possible. Your paper, handmade in villages where families have practiced the craft for generations, waits in neat stacks. Each sheet, created from mulberry bark beaten to perfect smoothness, has the texture of silk, the color of fresh snow, the absorbency that allows ink to penetrate just enough, but not too much, creating the perfect balance between sharp lines and soft gradations. The morning ritual of preparation begins now. Slowly, meditatively, you take your ink stick, solid ink made from pine soot and animal glue, compressed and aged until it achieves the perfect hardness. The stick, black as midnight, smooth as river stones, rests comfortably in your hand, familiar, trusted, ready to be transformed into liquid poetry. You add a few drops of water to your inkstone, water that you collected last night, rainwater that fell on your roof tiles, filtered by clay and time until it achieved perfect purity. The water, soft and mineral-free, spreads across the dark surface of the stone like quicksilver, like liquid light, ready to receive the ink, to blend with it, to become something greater than either water or ink alone. The grinding begins, slow, circular, meditative. Your hand moves the ink stick in steady circles, feeling the slight resistance as the solid ink meets the stone. As particle by particle, the black pigment releases into the water. The sound, soft, rhythmic, almost musical, becomes a mantra, a meditation, a prayer of preparation. Round and round, round and round, the ink stick moves across the stone. Each circle, complete in itself, builds upon the last, creating gradually the liquid medium through which your thoughts will flow, through which ancient characters will come to life, through which the wisdom of centuries will manifest in brushstrokes, in beauty, in the eternal dance of ink and paper. The ink deepens, darkens, becomes rich as forest shadow, profound as midnight sky. You can see your reflection in its surface, wavering, dreamlike, a reminder that in the practice of calligraphy, the writer and the writing, the observer and the observed, the artist and the art, become one flowing movement, one unified expression of the way things are. Outside, the city continues to wake, the sound of wooden buckets being lowered into wells, echoes from nearby courtyards, the water, drawn from underground streams that flow beneath Kyoto like veins beneath skin, sustains life, nourishes gardens, fills tea kettles, participates in the countless daily rituals that make up the fabric of urban life. A vendor passes beneath your window, his voice calling softly, "Sweet potato, roasted sweet potato." The potatoes, grown in fields where farmers have perfected their cultivation through centuries of careful observation, are roasted over charcoal fires that burn just hot enough, creating the perfect balance of crispy skin and tender, sweet interior. The scent, carried on the morning breeze, speaks of comfort, of simple pleasures, of the way small things can bring great joy. Your ink is ready now, perfect in its consistency, dark as night, smooth as silk. You dip your brush, the finest one, made from the tail hair of a mountain weasel, into the liquid. The brush, responding to the slightest pressure, draws up just enough ink, holding it in readiness, prepared to release it in the precise flow that good calligraphy requires. The first character of the day, chosen with care, will be peace. Wa. Your brush hovers over the white paper, suspended in the moment before creation. The moment when potential becomes actual, when emptiness gives birth to form. This moment, eternal and instantaneous, contains all the preparation, all the years of practice, all the cultural wisdom that flows through the simple act of making marks on paper. The brush descends, touches the paper, begins to move. The character emerges, stroke by stroke, each line deliberate, confident, connected to the next in a flow that seems effortless, but represents decades of dedicated practice. The ink, flowing from brush to paper, creates not just a symbol, but a meditation, a prayer, a moment of perfect union between mind and matter, between intention and expression. Peace. The character complete rests on the white paper like a small island of meaning in an ocean of possibility. The ink, still slightly wet, gleams in the morning light, connecting you to every calligrapher who has ever written this character, every hand that has guided a brush, every mind that has contemplated the profound simplicity of peace. You set down your brush, flexing your fingers gently, feeling the slight tension that comes from holding. Controlling, guiding the flow of ink. Your hand, trained through years of practice, knows the weight of the brush, the resistance of the paper, the way ink behaves in different weather, under different pressures, at different speeds. The morning's first work is complete, but the day stretches ahead like an empty scroll, waiting to be filled with beauty, with meaning, with the patient accumulation of small perfections that make up a life devoted to art, to tradition, to the endless exploration of what it means to make something beautiful in a world that hungers for beauty. You stand, stretching gently, feeling your spine lengthen, your shoulders release. The morning meditation, the careful preparation, the first brushstrokes have created a foundation of calm, a reservoir of peace that will sustain you through the hours ahead. Your body, aligned and relaxed, your mind, clear and focused, your spirit, connected to the ancient traditions that flow through your art like underground streams, like the breath of mountains, like the eternal rhythm of seasons turning. The stone-paved street outside your window has come fully alive now. Merchants, their voices blending into a gentle chorus, call their wares. Fresh fish from the Kamo River, vegetables from the mountain gardens, silk thread, fine silk thread. Each call, part of a symphony that has played every morning for centuries, will play every morning for centuries to come, connects your small life to the great flowing river of human community, human craft, human devotion to beauty and sustenance, and the patient work of living well. You walk to your window, looking out at the street that has become your companion, your teacher, your daily reminder of the interconnectedness of all things. The stones, laid by craftsmen whose names are forgotten but whose work continues to serve, create a path that has been walked by poets, by monks, by merchants, by mothers carrying sleeping children, by lovers walking hand in hand under paper lanterns, by everyone who has ever called this ancient city home. A young apprentice, carrying brushes wrapped in silk, hurries past your window. His steps, quick but not frantic, speak of purpose, of dedication, of the eagerness that comes with learning, with growing, with discovering each day new depths in ancient arts. His master, no doubt, waits in a studio nearby, ready to pass on techniques, secrets, insights that cannot be learned from books, but must flow from teacher to student, like water from one vessel to another. The morning light, growing stronger now, begins to reveal the full beauty of your neighborhood. Wooden houses, their dark beams, contrasting with white plaster walls, line the narrow streets like prayers written in architecture. Each house, built without nails, joined instead with precise wooden joints that flex with earthquakes, that breathe with seasons, that embody the Japanese principle of working with nature rather than against it. Represents generations of accumulated wisdom, of trial and error, of the patient refinement that creates lasting beauty. Small gardens, visible through gaps between buildings, add touches of green to the urban landscape. Bamboo, bending gracefully in the morning breeze, creates moving curtains of green. Maple trees, their leaves just beginning to unfurl, promise autumn colors that will transform the city into a living painting. Stone lanterns, moss-covered, ancient, stand guard over tiny landscapes that contain, in miniature, all the beauty of mountains and streams and forests. You return to your desk, to your tools, to the work that gives meaning to your days. The ink, still perfect in its consistency, waits for the brush. The paper, white and expectant, waits for the ink. And you, trained in the ancient ways, blessed with the opportunity to participate in traditions that stretch back through centuries, wait for the inner stillness that allows true calligraphy to emerge. The next character forms in your mind before you pick up the brush. Morning. Two strokes of elegant simplicity that capture the essence of beginning, of fresh start, of the daily miracle of light returning to the world. Your brush, loaded with ink, approaches the paper, and you feel the familiar moment of anticipation, the gentle tension that precedes creation, the quiet excitement of bringing something beautiful into existence. The character flows onto the paper, each stroke connected to the next by invisible threads of intention, of breath, of the meditation that has become second nature through years of devoted practice. Morning, complete now, joins peace on the white expanse. Two islands of meaning, two moments of perfect expression, two small additions to the vast literature of human longing for beauty, for truth, for connection to something greater than the individual self. The morning's work has begun, gently, naturally, like dawn breaking over the mountains that surround Kyoto. The day ahead, filled with the promise of paper and ink, of brushstrokes and breathing, of the ancient dialogue between mind and matter, between intention and result, between the desire to create beauty and the skills necessary to manifest that desire in physical form. You pause, brush in hand, and listen to the city around you. The sounds, now familiar as your own heartbeat, speak of community, of shared purpose, of the thousands of individual lives that together create the great living organism that is Kyoto. Your work, your art, your daily practice of calligraphy is part of this larger organism, contributing its own small note to the symphony, its own thread to the tapestry, its own prayer to the great ongoing conversation between human consciousness and the mysterious beauty of existence. The morning light, soft and golden now, illuminates your workspace, your tools, your first characters of the day. Everything is ready. Everything is prepared. Everything waits in perfect stillness for the next movement of the brush, the next breath, the next moment of creation in the endless flow of making, of being, of participating in the ancient dance of art and life, of beauty and meaning, of the individual drop returning again and again to the ocean of universal harmony. Your eyelids grow heavy as the peaceful morning settles around you like a gentle blanket. The soft sounds of the waking city, the distant temple bells, the gentle plink of the bamboo fountain all blend into a lullaby of perfect contentment. You drift slowly, peacefully into the deep, restful sleep of one who lives in harmony with tradition, with nature, with the eternal rhythms of beauty and peace. Chapter 2. Preparing ink and rice paper. You wake again, this time to the gentle sound of rain on your clay roof tiles. The drops, soft and steady, create a rhythm like distant drums, like the heartbeat of the sky itself. Through your shoji screens, the morning light is softer today, filtered through layers of silver clouds that have drifted in from the mountains, carrying with them the promise of a perfect day for the delicate work of preparing your materials. The rain, spring rain that the Japanese call harusame, falls gently on your garden, on the stone lanterns, on the carefully placed rocks that represent mountains and islands in your small landscape. Each drop, perfect in its roundness, carries with it the essence of clouds, of sky, of the great cycle that lifts water from seas and streams, holds it in air, then returns it to earth as blessing, as nourishment, as the gift that makes all life possible. You lie still for a moment, listening to the rain's gentle conversation with your roof. The tiles, made from clay dug from riverbanks near Kyoto, shaped by hands that have known their craft for generations, curved to carry water away while protecting the wooden structure beneath, have been performing this same function for decades. They speak of permanence, of shelter, of the human impulse to create beautiful solutions to practical needs. Rising slowly, you feel the change in the air that rain brings. Cooler, fresher, charged with negative ions that seem to clear your mind, to open your lungs, to connect you more deeply to the natural world that sustains and surrounds your daily life. Your movements, unhurried, reverent, acknowledge the gift of another day, another opportunity to practice your art, another chance to participate in the ancient dialogue between human consciousness and beautiful form. Your morning tea today will be different, special, chosen for the contemplative work ahead. You select leaves from a small ceramic jar, tea that was grown in the mountains of Uji, where morning mist and afternoon sun create the perfect conditions for leaves that taste of spring rain, of mountain stones, of the patient wisdom that comes from growing slowly, naturally, in harmony with seasonal rhythms. The water for tea, collected during last night's rain in a large ceramic vessel, tastes of sky, of clouds, of the journey from earth to heaven and back again. Rainwater, soft and pure, free from the minerals that sometimes make well water heavy, creates tea of extraordinary delicacy, allowing the true flavor of the leaves to emerge like poetry, like truth, like the subtle beauty that appears only when nothing interferes with natural expression. As the water heats, you prepare for the day's most important task, the making of ink. This process, ancient as writing itself, transforms solid materials into liquid possibility, creates the medium through which thoughts become visible, through which the invisible architecture of ideas takes on physical form, permanent, beautiful, capable of outlasting the hand that guides the brush, the mind that chooses the characters, the lifetime that contains both. Your ink stick, made from pine soot collected after controlled burns in mountain forests, waits in its wooden box. The soot, finest particles of carbon created when pine burns in oxygen-starved conditions, was mixed with animal glue derived from fish, from deer, creating a solid medium that contains, in concentrated form, the essence of both fire and water, both tree and animal, both earth and sky. The glue that binds your ink, processed from the swim bladders of carp caught in Lake Biwa, represents an ancient technology, a way of preserving, of binding, of creating adhesion that lasts through centuries. The fish, sacred in Buddhist tradition, give their lives to create beauty, their sacrifice transformed into art, into meaning, into the permanent record of human thought and feeling. You remove the ink stick from its box, feeling its weight, its smoothness, its readiness to be transformed. The stick, aged for years in darkness, has achieved the perfect balance of hardness and density. Too soft, and it would wear away too quickly. Too hard, and it would resist the grinding that releases its essence. This balance, achieved through patient experimentation, through generations of refinement, represents the profound understanding that emerges when human skill meets natural materials, when technology serves beauty rather than replace. Your inkstone, waiting with its pool of rainwater, reflects the soft morning light. The stone, its surface worn smooth through years of grinding, has become a perfect tool, responsive to pressure, generous in its service, beautiful in its simplicity. The slight depression at its center, created gradually through countless sessions of ink preparation, holds the water like a small mountain lake, dark, still, pregnant with possibility. You begin to grind, slowly, meditatively, moving the ink stick in careful circles. The motion, controlled entirely by your wrist, becomes a meditation, a prayer, a way of entering the mind state necessary for fine calligraphy. Round and round, round and round, the stick moves across the stone, creating friction, releasing particles, transforming solid into liquid, potential into readiness. The sound, soft, rhythmic, joins the rain's gentle percussion on your roof. Stone against stone, water receiving ink, the ancient materials participating in their transformation, creating together the medium that will carry your thoughts, your artistic vision, your contribution to the great conversation of human culture that stretches back to the first person, who realized that marks on a surface could preserve meaning, could communicate across distance, could make the temporary permanent. As you grind, your mind enters a state of gentle focus. The repetitive motion, like the repetitive breathing of meditation, allows deeper thoughts to surface, to clarify, to organize themselves in the spacious awareness that good calligraphy requires. You think of the characters you will write today, feeling them in your mind, seeing them emerge on imaginary paper, sensing the flow of brushstrokes before brush touches ink, before ink touches paper. The ink deepens, grows richer, more complex in its blackness. True black, the black of good ink, contains within it all colors, all possibilities, the potential for every brushstroke, every character, every expression of beauty that your day's work will bring forth. This black, achieved through patient grinding, through the marriage of water and soot, becomes the voice through which silence speaks, the form through which emptiness manifests, the way through which the invisible becomes visible. You pause in your grinding, testing the ink's consistency by lifting the stick, watching how the liquid flows, how it holds together, how it releases from the solid surface. Perfect ink, like perfect tea, like perfect poetry, achieves a balance that cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, can only be approached through patience, through attention, through the willingness to let natural processes unfold in their own time. The rain outside continues, steady, soothing, creating the perfect acoustic backdrop for your morning's work. Rain, in Japanese aesthetics, represents the beauty of impermanence, the precious nature of moments that arise, exist briefly in perfect clarity, then dissolve back into the flowing stream of time. Your ink, being ground in this moment, partakes of this same principle, temporary in its liquid form, yet capable of creating marks that will outlast the rain, the season, the very hands that guide the brush. You resume grinding, feeling the meditation deepen, the inner stillness expand. Your breathing, slow and natural, synchronizes with the movement of your hand, with the sound of rain, with the distant temple bells that mark time in the ancient city. Everything, breath, hand, mind, ink, stone, rain, sky, becomes part of a single flowing movement, a unified expression of the way things are when artificial barriers dissolve, when the sense of separation gives way to the deeper truth of interconnection. The morning progresses, measured not by clocks, but by the gradual perfection of your ink, by the slow brightening of the filtered light, by the gentle evolution of the rain from steady downpour to intermittent drops, to occasional soft percussion on the clay tiles above. Your ink achieves perfect consistency now, smooth as silk, dark as the space between stars, rich with the concentrated essence of pine forests and mountain streams. You lift the ink stick, watching the liquid flow like liquid night, like concentrated shadow, like the medium through which light itself becomes visible by contrast. This ink, created through your patient labor, through the marriage of your intention with ancient materials, contains infinite potential. Every character ever written, every poem ever brushed, every prayer ever expressed in the flowing dance of brush and paper. You set the ink stick aside in its designated place on a small wooden rest carved from cherry wood. The rest, created by a craftsman in nearby Arashiyama, bears the subtle marks of hand tools, the gentle imperfections that speak of human touch, of individual creation, of the preference for handmade beauty over machine precision that characterizes all aspects of traditional Japanese life. Now comes the selection of paper, a choice as important as the ink itself. Your supply, stored in a wooden chest lined with silk, represents papers from different regions, different seasons, different intentions. Each type, handmade using techniques passed down through generations, offers unique qualities, distinct personalities, specific gifts for the calligrapher who understands their subtle differences. You open the chest slowly, reverently, breathing in the faint scent of mulberry bark, of mountain water, of the patient human labor that transforms raw fiber into sheets of pure possibility. The silk lining, dyed the color of dawn's sky, protects the papers from moisture, from dust, from anything that might compromise their perfect receptivity to ink, their ability to hold brushstrokes with faithful precision, their capacity to preserve beauty for generations yet to come. The first paper you consider, made in the village of Yoshino, carries the reputation of 7 centuries of papermaking excellence. The artisans there, working with mulberry trees that grow wild on mountain slopes, have perfected the process of creating sheets so smooth, so evenly textured, that ink flows across their surface like water across polished stone, creating lines of extraordinary clarity, of perfect definition, of startling beauty. This paper, called hosho, feels like silk beneath your fingers. The fibers, beaten for hours with wooden mallets until they achieve perfect length, perfect uniformity, create a surface that seems to glow with inner light. When ink touches this paper, it penetrates just enough to become permanent. Not so much that lines blur, not so little that they remain superficial, but exactly enough to create the perfect marriage of liquid and solid, of temporary and eternal, of intention and manifestation. But today, for the contemplative work you have planned, you choose a different paper, thicker, more textured, made in mountain villages where spring water runs so pure that it requires no filtering, no processing, nothing but gratitude for the gift of perfect clarity. This paper, called hanshi, has a subtle texture like the finest woven cloth that adds depth to every brushstroke, that creates tiny variations in ink density, that transforms simple characters into complex expressions of light and shadow, of presence and absence, of the eternal dance between form and emptiness. You remove 3 sheets, handling them with the care reserved for precious things. Paper, in the Edo period, represents considerable value, not just monetary, but spiritual, environmental, human. Each sheet contains the labor of people who rose before dawn, who gathered bark by hand, who worked over steaming vats, who laid each sheet individually on wooden screens to dry in mountain air, who pressed and sorted and inspected until only the finest examples remained. The first sheet, perfect in its whiteness, in its smooth texture, waits on your desk like fresh snow, like morning clouds, like the emptiness that Buddhist philosophy teaches is not absence but fullness, not void but potential, not nothing but everything in its unmanifested state. This whiteness, achieved through careful processing, through the removal of all impurities, creates the perfect background for black ink, the ideal contrast that makes meaning visible, that allows the eye to distinguish character from space, symbol from silence. You smooth the paper with a cloth, removing any dust any moisture, any imperfection that might interfere with the flow of ink. The cloth, woven from cotton grown in the warm southern islands, has been used for this purpose for years, absorbing oils from your hands, accumulating the subtle residue of countless sessions of paper preparation, becoming, through use, perfectly suited for its task, like a tool shaped by its function, like wisdom shaped by experience. Your paperweight, carved from jade quarried in distant mountains, rests at the corner of your first sheet. The stone, cool and smooth, heavy enough to hold the paper perfectly flat, beautiful enough to inspire contemplation, represents the meeting of utility and aesthetics that characterizes all your tools, all your practices, all the objects that surround and support your artistic life. The jade, pale green like new bamboo, like spring water, was carved by artists who understood stone as others understand music, who could see within rough rock the sleeping forms of beauty, who spent lifetimes learning to coax grace from mineral hardness, to reveal the hidden softness, the flowing lines, the organic curves that make stone seem almost alive, almost breathing, almost participating in the organic rhythms of growth and change. Now, with paper prepared and ink waiting, you turn your attention to your brushes. Each brush, maker marked with tiny characters burned into bamboo handles, represents a different voice, a different possibility, a different way of expressing the same underlying intention to create beauty, to preserve meaning, to participate in the great tradition of making the invisible visible through the simple, profound, eternal act of mark-making. Your largest brush, made from the hair of mountain sheep that graze in high meadows where spring comes late and winter lingers, creates bold strokes, confident lines, characters that speak with authority, with presence, with the kind of clarity that comes from deep understanding, from years of practice, from the mastery that allows simplicity to emerge from complexity, boldness from humility, strength from gentleness. The sheep, living free in alpine meadows, eating grasses flavored by mountain minerals, by snowmelt, by the thin air of high altitudes, produce hair of extraordinary quality. Resilient, flexible, capable of holding large amounts of ink while releasing it gradually, predictably. This hair, when bound into brushes by master craftsmen, becomes an extension of the calligrapher's intention, a bridge between mind and paper, between thought and form. Your medium brush, wolf hair from animals that roam the deep forests of northern Japan, offers different qualities, different possibilities. Wolf hair, naturally tapered, naturally strong, creates lines that can vary from hair-thin to bold, that can start narrow and broaden, that can express the full range of calligraphic expression within a single brushstroke. The wolves, living wild and free, eating deer and rabbit, sleeping under stars, contribute their wildness, their strength, their connection to untamed nature to the civilized art of beautiful writing. The finest brush, your most treasured tool, contains hair from the tail of a mountain weasel. These small animals, quick and graceful, living in rocky places where streams run clear and cold, produce hair of unmatched fineness, extraordinary responsiveness, perfect elasticity. A brush made from weasel hair, properly cared for, can create lines so fine they seem drawn with light itself. Characters so delicate they appear to float above the paper. Expressions so subtle They seem to emerge from silence rather than from ink. Each brush requires its own ritual of preparation, its own moment of readiness. You begin with the largest, dipping it first in clean water, allowing the hair to absorb moisture, to soften, to prepare for the ink that will soon flow through it, like blood through veins, like breath through lungs, like intention through the willing medium of physical form. The water, the same rainwater you collected for tea, receives the brush like an old friend. The hair, dry from yesterday's careful cleaning, drinks slowly, gradually, swelling to its full capacity, becoming flexible, responsive, ready to serve as the channel through which your artistic vision will flow from mind to paper, from intention to manifestation, from the invisible realm of ideas to the visible world of form and beauty. You shake the brush gently, removing excess water, leaving just enough moisture to prepare the hair for ink, to create the perfect balance between wet and dry, between absorption and release, between holding and letting go, that characterizes all aspects of calligraphic practice, all aspects of Buddhist philosophy, all aspects of the life that finds beauty in balance, meaning in moderation, perfection in the middle way. The brush, properly prepared, waits now for ink. You dip it slowly, watching the black liquid climb the individual hairs, feeling the slight increase in weight as the brush loads with possibility, with potential, with the concentrated essence of trees and animals and human skill transformed into the medium of artistic expression, of cultural preservation, of the eternal human need to make marks that say, I was here, I thought this, I felt this, I created this small beauty as my gift to the continuing conversation of human consciousness. You test the brush on a practice sheet, feeling how it responds to pressure, to angle, to the speed of movement across the paper. Each brush, like each person, has its own personality, its own preferences, its own ways of expressing the intentions that flow through it. Learning a brush, understanding its character, becoming one with its particular genius, requires time, patience, the willingness to listen with your hand, to feel with your mind, to trust the wisdom that emerges when human intention aligns perfectly with the tools that serve it. The first practice stroke will be bold and confident, flows across the paper like black lightning, like concentrated shadow, like the visible track of invisible thought. The brush, responding to the slightest variation in pressure, creates a line that swells and tapers, that carries within its flowing form the rhythm of breath, the pulse of heartbeat, the natural variations that make handwritten characters living expressions rather than mechanical reproductions. You set the large brush aside, properly cleaned, properly positioned, ready for the work ahead. The medium brush comes next, its wolf hair already softening in anticipation, already preparing to serve as the bridge between your artistic vision and its physical manifestation. Wolf hair, with its natural resilience, its wild strength, brings to your calligraphy something of the forest, something of the hunt, something of the fierce beauty that emerges when civilization learns from wildness, when culture draws strength from nature, when art remembers its roots in the untamed sources of inspiration. The preparation of each brush becomes a meditation, a gradual entering into the mind state that calligraphy requires. Not rushed, not efficient in the modern sense, but thorough, complete, reverential. Each movement, deliberate and conscious, acknowledges the gift of materials, the privilege of practice, the responsibility that comes with preserving and extending ancient traditions, with adding your own small voice to the chorus that has sung through centuries, that will continue singing long after your particular contribution has dissolved back into the stream of time. Your finest brush, the weasel hair treasure, requires the most delicate preparation. The hair, so fine it seems almost invisible, so responsive it trembles at the slightest breath, contains within its microscopic structure the capacity for lines of extraordinary subtlety, for expressions of meaning so delicate they seem to emerge from the paper itself rather than being applied to its surface. You dip this brush in water with the care of a priest handling sacred relics. The hair, absorbing moisture molecule by molecule, transforms from stiff individual fibers into a unified tool, a single expression of focused intention, a perfect instrument for the creation of beauty that exists at the very limits of visibility, at the boundary between presence and absence, at the edge where form dissolves into formlessness, where meaning emerges from the space between meanings. The ink, ready now in its perfect consistency, waits to receive these brushes, to flow through them, to become, through their mediation, the visible expression of invisible truth, the physical manifestation of mental clarity, the bridge between the world of ideas and the world of beautiful objects that can be touched, seen, preserved, shared across generations of seekers, of artists, of anyone who recognizes in fine calligraphy a window into the deepest mysteries of human consciousness. You arrange your papers, 3 sheets of the mountain handmade hanshi, in perfect alignment on your desk. Each sheet representing hours of human labor, days of natural processes, seasons of growth and harvest and transformation, waits to receive whatever beauty your practice will bring forth. The papers, white as fresh snow, as morning clouds, as the emptiness that Zen teaches is not vacant space, but pregnant potential, create the stage on which today's performance will unfold. The first sheet, closest to your right hand, will receive your morning's warm-up exercises, the characters that prepare your hand, your mind, your spirit for more demanding work. These practice characters, though temporary, though destined perhaps for the fire, are no less important than finished pieces, for they create the conditions, the readiness, the flowing state of consciousness that allows true art to emerge, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. The second sheet, positioned for easy access but protected from accidental contact, awaits your serious work, the characters you will write with full attention, complete presence, total commitment to beauty. This paper, slightly thicker than the first, with texture that will add depth to every stroke, will become the repository of your day's finest efforts, the physical record of your dialogue with tradition, your personal contribution to the great ongoing conversation of calligraphic art. The third sheet, reserved for your most ambitious undertaking, rests like a field of snow waiting for spring, like silence waiting for music, like emptiness waiting for the perfect word that will transform void into meaning, absence into presence, potential into actuality. This paper, the finest in your collection, with texture so subtle it seems almost imaginary, will challenge your skill, inspire your highest efforts, demand nothing less than the complete presence that true art requires. Your water containers, small ceramic vessels that you fill fresh each morning, provide the clean water necessary for brush cleaning, for ink dilution, for the countless small adjustments that fine calligraphy requires. The water, clear as mountain streams, pure as morning air, serves as the medium of transformation, the element that allows transition, the fluid boundary between one state and another, one intention and another, one brushstroke and the next. These containers, made by potters in nearby Kiyomizu, represent generations of accumulated wisdom about clay, about fire, about the alchemy that transforms earth into vessels, utility into beauty, function into art. The glaze, applied with brushes not unlike your own, creates surfaces that are both practical and beautiful, that serve their function while pleasing the eye, that embody the Japanese principle that beauty and utility should never be separated, that the most profound art emerges when aesthetic vision serves practical need. You arrange your tools, your materials, your prepared inks and papers in the precise order that decades of practice have taught you to prefer. Each item positioned for easy access, for natural flow, for the seamless transition from one phase of work to another, creates a workspace that supports rather than hinders, that encourages rather than frustrates, that becomes transparent to your artistic intention, invisible to your conscious mind. Present only as perfect responsiveness to whatever the work requires. The light, filtered through rain clouds and shoji screens, achieves perfect quality now. Not too bright, which would create glare, harsh shadows, visual strain. Not too dim, which would make subtle ink variations invisible, would tire the eyes, would interfere with the precision that good calligraphy demands. But just right, perfectly balanced, evenly distributed, creating the conditions under which ink and paper can reveal their finest qualities, under which your skill can manifest without strain, without effort, with the natural ease that emerges when everything supports everything else in harmonious cooperation. You pause now, tools ready, materials prepared, workspace perfected, to center yourself once more in the deep stillness that is the source of all good calligraphy. Your breathing, slow and natural, creates the rhythm that will guide your brushwork. Your mind, clear as the morning air, as the rainwater in your teacup, becomes the space in which characters can emerge, fully formed, perfectly proportioned, beautiful in their simplicity, profound in their connection to centuries of tradition, to the accumulated wisdom of countless calligraphers who have sat just as you sit now, who have prepared just as you prepare, who have found in the ancient art of beautiful writing a path to beauty, to meaning, to the deep satisfaction that comes from participating in something larger than individual life, larger than personal ambition, larger than the small self that seeks recognition rather than truth, beauty rather than cleverness, harmony rather originality. The rain, softer now, creates a gentle percussion that seems to support your inner stillness, to encourage the meditative state that allows great art to emerge. Each drop, falling in its own time, following its own path from cloud to earth, reminds you that your brushstrokes too must follow their natural course, must emerge from genuine feeling rather than forced technique, must trust the accumulated wisdom of hand and eye and brush and ink to create, moment by moment, stroke by stroke, character by character. The beauty that arises when preparation meets inspiration, when skill serves spirit, when the individual artist becomes transparent to the eternal principles that govern all artistic creation. Your first sheet waits, white and expectant, ready to receive whatever offerings your practice will bring forth. The paper, made from bark that grew slowly in mountain forests, that absorbed spring rain and summer sun, that participated in the great cycles of growth and rest that characterize all natural life, brings to your art something of the forest, something of the mountain, something of the patient, natural processes that transform seed into tree, tree into fiber, fiber into the medium that will carry your thoughts into visible form, into permanent beauty, into the continuing conversation between human consciousness and the mysterious principles that govern artistic creation. The moment before the brush touches paper, this eternal moment, contains all possibilities, all potential characters, all possible expressions of beauty. In this moment, poised between intention and action, between thought and form, between the invisible and the visible, you participate in the mystery that lies at the heart of all creation, the inexplicable emergence of something from nothing, beauty from emptiness, meaning from silence, word from the void that contains all words, the form from the formlessness that gives birth to all forms. The brush descends, touches the paper, begins to move. The first character emerges, rain. A May, flowing onto the white surface like the gentle precipitation that sounds on your roof, that nourishes your garden, that connects earth to sky, that reminds all living things of their participation in cycles larger than individual life, larger than human time, larger than the concerns that usually occupy the restless mind, but smaller, far smaller, and the peaceful awareness that emerges when the mind stops its constant motion and rests, like rain-soaked earth, in perfect stillness, perfect receptivity, perfect peace. The character complete, you pause, breathing slowly, feeling the deep satisfaction that comes not from finishing, but from beginning, not from achievement, but from participation, not from personal success, but from alignment with forces and principles and traditions that flow through individual life like underground streams, like the breath that moves in and out without conscious control, like the awareness that witnesses all experience while remaining itself unchanged, untouched, eternally present, eternally peaceful. More characters follow, each one emerging from the same source of stillness, the same pool of concentrated attention, the same deep well of practiced skill that has been refined through years of patient repetition, of daily practice, of small improvements accumulated like dewdrops, like morning light gathering strength, like the gradual perfection that emerges when someone dedicates their life to something beautiful, something meaningful, something that connects individual effort to universal principles, personal expression to timeless truth, human creativity to the mysterious source from which all beauty flows. Mountain, Yama, rises on your paper like the peaks that surround Kyoto. Solid, permanent, reaching towards sky while rooted in earth, expressing in 3 simple strokes the essential nature of elevation, of aspiration, of the human impulse to climb, to see farther, to touch something higher than ordinary ground-level concerns, to participate in the vertical dimension that connects earth to heaven, matter to spirit, human life to the vast contexts that give individual existence meaning, direction, purpose. Water, Mizu, flows beside the mountain character. Liquid, graceful, expressing in its curves the essential nature of adaptation, of finding the path of least resistance, of taking the shape of whatever contains it while maintaining its essential nature, its capacity to nourish, to cleanse, to reflect sky, to carry boats, to turn wheels, to participate in all the processes that sustain life while remaining essentially itself, unchanged by use, unpolluted by service, eternally pure in its essential nature. Each character, as you write it, connects you to the first person who saw these shapes in nature, who recognized in mountains' outline, in water's flow, the essential forms that could be abstracted, simplified, refined into symbols that carry meaning across time, across distance, across the barriers that usually separate one mind from another. Your brushstrokes, following paths worn smooth by millions of previous brushstrokes, participate in this ancient communication, this preservation of insight, this democratic sharing of beauty that makes calligraphy not just art, but service, not just expression, but gift, not just personal satisfaction, but contribution to the great human project of making life more beautiful, more meaningful, more connected to the deep sources of wisdom and peace. The morning's work unfolds, character by character, brushstroke by brushstroke, breath by breath. The rain outside, now reduced to occasional drops, creates a gentle punctuation, a soft percussion that marks time without urgency, that measures progress without pressure, that reminds you that all things, rain and sunshine, winter and summer, youth and age, practice and mastery, arise, exist for their appointed time, then dissolve back into the source from which they emerged, leaving behind only their contribution to the great flowing stream of existence. Only their gift to the continuing conversation, only their small addition to the vast library of beauty that successive generations create, preserve, and pass forward to children not yet born, to students not yet awakened, to artists not yet aware of their calling to serve beauty, to serve truth, to serve the mysterious impulse that calls human beings to create, to express, to make visible the invisible splendor that surrounds and interpenetrates all life. Your eyelids grow heavy as the gentle rhythm of brush and ink, of breath and creation, lulls your spirit into perfect calm. The soft sound of raindrops, the distant whisper of temple bells, the quiet scratch of brush on paper, all blend into a symphony of perfect peace. You drift, slowly, contentedly, into the deep, restful sleep of one who has spent the morning in perfect harmony with tradition, with nature, with the eternal dance of beauty and meaning. Chapter 3: The Silence of the Brush and the Rhythm of Calligraphy. You awaken to perfect silence, a silence so complete, so profound that it seems to have substance, weight, presence. The rain has stopped. The morning merchants have passed. Even the bamboo fountain in your garden has paused in its eternal rhythm, creating a pocket of absolute quiet in which your consciousness floats like a single lotus petal on a still pond. This silence, rare and precious in the life of a city, settles around you like the finest silk, like morning mist, like the pause between heartbeats when all of existence holds its breath, waiting, listening, present to the mystery that underlies all sound, all movement, all the busy activity that usually fills the spaces between dawn and dusk, between sleeping and waking, between one moment and the next, in the flowing river of time. You lie still, honoring this gift of silence, letting it penetrate your bones, your blood, your breathing, until you become part of it, until the boundary between silent awareness and silent world dissolves, until you rest in the fundamental quietude that exists always, beneath all sound, beyond all noise, deeper than all the surface disturbances that usually claim attention, demand response. Create the illusion of urgency in a universe that unfolds according to rhythms far slower, far more patient, far more wise than human haste can comprehend. When you finally rise, your movements create the first sounds in this sanctuary of quiet. The soft whisper of cotton against skin, the gentle compression of tatami beneath your feet, the subtle creak of wooden beams settling into their daily configurations, all seem amplified, clarified, purified by the silence that surrounds them, that makes each small sound precious, significant, worth attending to with the full presence usually reserved for important events, for special occasions, for moments that seem to contain more meaning than ordinary time allows. Your morning preparations unfold in this cathedral of quiet, each action performed with extra care, extra attention, extra reverence for the space that silence creates, the opportunities it offers, the insights it makes possible. Washing your face, the sound of water seems like music, like the first notes of a symphony that will build throughout the day, that will culminate in the full expression of your calligraphic practice. Your dialogue with brush and ink, your participation in the ancient conversation between human consciousness and beautiful form. The water, cold and clear, awakens your skin, sharpens your awareness, prepares your senses for the subtle work ahead. In silence, every sensation becomes more vivid, more present, more connected to the underlying reality that noise usually obscures, that busyness usually prevents us from noticing, that the occupied mind usually lacks the spaciousness to receive, to appreciate, to learn from. Your tea preparation in this perfect quiet becomes a ceremony of attention, of gratitude, of conscious participation in the simple miracle of hot water meeting dried leaves, releasing flavor, creating nourishment, providing the gentle stimulation that will support your work without overwhelming your nervous system, without disturbing the inner peace that silence has created, without interfering with the delicate balance of awareness that good calligraphy requires. The tea leaves, unfurling in hot water, release their essence slowly, gradually, like secrets being shared with a trusted friend, like wisdom being passed from teacher to student, like the accumulated knowledge of generations of tea growers, tea masters, tea lovers who have participated in this same daily ritual, who have found in the simple act of brewing and drinking tea a pathway to mindfulness, to presence, to the recognition that ordinary activities, performed with attention, with gratitude, with awareness, become extraordinary, become sacred, become doorways into the deeper dimensions of existence. You drink slowly, silently, feeling the warm liquid spread through your body, awakening cells, stimulating circulation, creating the gentle alertness that will serve your artistic work, your meditative practice, your day-long exploration of the boundary between effort and effortlessness, between trying and allowing, between forcing and flowing, that characterizes all advanced artistic practice, all spiritual discipline, all the activities that human beings pursue when they seek not just pleasure or profit, but meaning, beauty, connection to something larger than individual desire, larger than personal ambition, larger than the small self that seeks recognition rather than truth. The silence continues, deepens, becomes a living presence in your home, your garden, your awareness. In this quiet, you can hear things usually masked by sound. The circulation of air through your house, the settling of wooden joints, the almost inaudible hum that emanates from all living things, from all conscious beings, from the earth itself as it spins through space, carrying its cargo of cities and forests, mountains and streams, countless lives pursuing their individual purposes while participating, knowingly or unknowingly, in the vast cosmic dance that connects all existence in patterns too large, too complex, too beautiful for any single mind to comprehend completely. Your workroom, when you enter it, seems transformed by silence, enlarged, made sacred by the absence of distraction, by the presence of perfect quiet that allows the subtlest nuances of artistic practice to emerge, to be noticed, to be cultivated, to be refined into the kind of mastery that emerges only when external noise stops interfering with internal sensitivity, when the mind becomes quiet enough to hear the whispered instructions that brush and ink and paper offer to those who know how to listen, how to receive, how to trust the wisdom that emerges in silence. Your tools, arranged as you left them, seem to vibrate with potential energy, with readiness, with the accumulated power that comes from proper preparation, from respectful treatment, from years of partnership in the creation of beauty. Each brush, each stick of ink, each sheet of paper participates in the silence, contributes to the sacred space that is formed around your practice, that supports and protects and nourishes the delicate work of transformation that turns simple materials into expressions of truth, into records of beauty, into gifts that will outlast the hands that create them, the minds that conceive them, the lifetime that contains their creation. You sit, slowly, gracefully, assuming the posture that generations of calligraphers had found most conducive to good work. Your spine, straight but not rigid, creates a channel through which energy can flow freely, through which the subtle instructions of artistic intuition can travel from source to hand, from inspiration to implementation, from the invisible realm where all art begins to the visible world where it takes form, where it becomes available to others, where it joins the great collection of beautiful things that human beings create, preserve, and pass forward as gifts to future generations. Your breathing, in this perfect silence, becomes a meditation, a prayer, a way of connecting with the rhythm that will guide your brushwork. In, slow and deep, drawing energy from the air, from the space around you, from the vast atmospheric envelope that surrounds and sustains all life. Out, gentle and complete, releasing tension, releasing hurry, releasing everything that might interfere with the natural flow of artistic creation. With the effortless expression of trained skill, with the spontaneous emergence of beauty that occurs when all conditions are perfect, when all obstacles have been removed, when nothing remains but pure potential meeting perfect preparation. The first character you will write today emerges in your mind, fully formed, complete in every detail before brush touches paper. Silence, shizuka, 4 strokes that capture the essence of what surrounds you, what supports you, what has created the perfect conditions for this moment of creation. The character, ancient beyond memory, carries within its flowing lines the recognition that noise is temporary, that distraction is superficial, that beneath all sound, all movement, all the surface turbulence of daily life lies an inexhaustible source of peace, of clarity, of the profound rest that allows consciousness to recognize its own nature, to appreciate its own capacity for awareness, for presence, for the kind of attention that transforms ordinary activities into expressions of the sacred. Your brush, the medium one, wolf hair that carries something of wildness, something of forest freedom, something of the fierce beauty that emerges when natural power serves conscious intention, lifts ink from your stone. The liquid, black as midnight, smooth as liquid silk, flows up the brush hair like sap rising in spring trees, like awareness rising from sleep, like inspiration rising from the deep wells of cultural memory, of personal practice, of the accumulated wisdom that lives in hands trained through decades of repetition, of daily engagement with the demands and rewards of artistic discipline. The brush, loaded with ink, approaches the paper. This moment, the moment before contact, contains infinite possibility, unlimited potential, the pregnant pause that precedes all creation, all manifestation, all the moments when invisible becomes visible, when thought becomes form, when the eternal dance between consciousness and matter expresses itself through the willing partnership of human intention and responsive materials, of artistic vision and cooperative tools, of individual creativity and universal principles that govern the emergence of beauty in all its forms. Contact. The brush touches paper, and silence begins to flow, stroke by stroke, into visible existence. The first stroke, vertical, confident, creates the structural foundation, the spine around which the other strokes will organize themselves, will find their proper relationships, their harmonic proportions, their perfect balance of weight and space, of presence and absence, of the visible and the invisible spaces that together create meaning, create beauty, create the visual poetry that good calligraphy achieves, when every element serves every other element in perfect cooperation. The second stroke, horizontal, crossing the first at precisely the right angle, at exactly the right height, creates relationship, creates tension, creates the dynamic balance that makes static marks appear to move, to breathe, to live on the surface of the paper like captured breath, like frozen music, like the visible track of invisible truth, flowing through the willing medium of black ink on white paper, through the cooperative partnership of ancient wisdom and present attention, of cultural inheritance and personal expression. The third stroke, flowing, curved, adds grace to strength, softness to structure, the feminine principle to the masculine framework, creating the kind of balance that characterizes all great art, all profound philosophy, all the expressions of human wisdom that recognize in apparent opposites not conflict, but cooperation, not contradiction, but complementarity, not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be appreciated, to be celebrated, to be expressed through the infinite creativity that emerges when dualistic thinking dissolves into the recognition of underlying unity, of fundamental harmony, of the single source from which all apparent multiplicity flows. The fourth stroke, final, decisive, completing the character while opening it to infinite interpretation, to endless contemplation, to the kind of meaning that deepens rather than clarifies with attention, that reveals new layers, new connections, new possibilities each time the eye returns to it, each time the mind brings fresh awareness to bear on its familiar forms, its ancient wisdom, its participation in the great conversation between human consciousness and the principles that govern meaning, beauty, truth, the persistent human recognition that life contains dimensions beyond survival, beyond pleasure, beyond the satisfaction of personal desires, dimensions that call forth the best, the finest, the most dedicated expressions of human creativity. Silence, complete now on your paper, seems to emanate the very quality it represents. The character, balanced and graceful, strong and gentle, ancient and eternally present, creates around itself a field of quiet, a zone of peace that extends beyond the paper, beyond the desk, beyond the room, into the garden where stone lanterns stand in patient witness, into the street where occasional footsteps click softly on worn stones, into the city where millions of people pursue their daily activities while participating, consciously or unconsciously, in the vast network of relationships, traditions, shared practices that make individual life meaningful, that connect personal experience to universal principles, that weave separate existence into the great tapestry of human culture, human aspiration, human recognition of beauty as essential, as necessary, as fundamental to the good life as food, as shelter, as the love that makes survival worthwhile. You pause, brush resting in its holder, hands folded in your lap, breathing slowly in the continuing silence that seems to have been blessed, sanctified, made sacred by the emergence of this single perfect character, this small addition to the vast library of human expression, this quiet testimony to the possibility of beauty, the reality of meaning, the accessibility of peace for anyone willing to approach it through patience, through practice, through the kind of attention that transforms ordinary activities into expressions of the extraordinary, the mundane into the magical, the simple into the sublime. The second character forms in your awareness. Brush, fude, 3 strokes that capture the essence of the tool that serves as intermediary between mind and paper, between intention and manifestation, between the artist and the art. This character, like the tool itself, embodies service, responsiveness, the willingness to be shaped by another's purpose while maintaining its own integrity, its own essential nature, its own capacity to contribute something unique, something irreplaceable, something that could never be replicated by any other instrument, any other approach, any other way of bridging the gap between inner vision and outer expression. Your brush lifts, approaches the paper, begins the dance of brush. The first stroke, vertical, strong, creates the handle, the foundation, the part that connects human hand to animal hair, personal intention to natural material, conscious direction to responsive service. This stroke, like the bamboo from which brush handles are made, embodies flexibility within strength, the capacity to bend without breaking, to serve without losing essential nature, to participate in creative work while remaining fundamentally unchanged by use. The bamboo, harvested from groves that grow wild in mountain valleys, represents one of nature's most perfect expressions of structural efficiency, of elegant functionality, of beauty that emerges naturally from practical requirements. Hollow, light, incredibly strong, bamboo grows faster than trees, reaches maturity in seasons rather than decades, provides material that can be harvested without killing the plant, that regenerates naturally, that embodies the principle of sustainable relationship between human need and natural abundance. The second stroke of brush, flowing outward, creates the suggestion of hair, of the responsive medium that carries ink, that translates pressure into line, intention into visible form, artistic vision into permanent beauty. This stroke, like the animal hair it represents, speaks of sacrifice, of transformation, of the mysterious alchemy that turns living material into instruments of artistic expression, that allows consciousness to express itself through matter, spirit to manifest through form, the invisible to become visible through the cooperation of natural materials and human skill. The hair used in your finest brushes comes from animals that lived free, that grazed in high meadows, that drank from mountain streams, that participated fully in the wild rhythms of natural life before contributing their coats to the service of beauty, to the preservation of cultural wisdom, to the eternal human project of making life more meaningful through art. through the patient creation of beautiful objects that serve no practical purpose except to remind viewers, users, future generations that beauty is possible, that meaning can be preserved, that the highest aspirations of human consciousness can take permanent form in the cooperative dance of intention and material, of vision and craft, of individual creativity and universal principles. The third stroke, delicate, precise, completes the character brush while opening it to infinite contemplation, to endless appreciation for the simple complexity of this tool, this partner, this intermediary that makes calligraphy possible, that serves as the physical link between mental clarity and visible beauty, between personal expression and cultural preservation, between individual practice and the great tradition that flows through it, like underground water, like inherited wisdom, like the breath that connects each person to every other person who has ever lived, who will ever live, who shares the same air, the same sunlight, the same fundamental need for meaning, for beauty, for connection to something larger than isolated existence. Brush, complete now beside silence, creates a visual conversation, a dialogue between tool and condition, between means and context, between the instrument of expression and the environment that supports expression, that nurtures it, that allows it to emerge in its finest form. These two characters, alone on the white expanse of handmade paper, seem to contain entire philosophies, complete aesthetics, profound teachings about the relationship between human creativity and the conditions that foster it, that protect it, that allow it to flourish like rare flowers, like mountain springs, like all the precious things that require special care, special attention, special environments in which to reveal their essential nature, their unique gifts, their irreplaceable contributions to the great tapestry of existence. The silence deepens as you work, becoming not absence, but presence, not void, but fullness, not empty space, but pregnant potential that surrounds each brushstroke, each character, each moment of contact between ink and paper, like protective atmosphere, like blessing, like the invisible support that makes all visible beauty possible. In this silence, your breathing becomes meditation, your brushwork becomes prayer, your entire practice becomes a way of participating in the fundamental creativity that continuously creates the universe, that maintains it in existence, that allows it to evolve, to complexify, to develop ever more beautiful expressions of the basic principles that govern all manifestation, all emergence, all the mysterious processes that bring something from nothing, form from emptiness, beauty from the raw materials of earth and water, fire and air, consciousness and matter. The third character flows into being, paper, kami, expressing in its elegant strokes the miraculous transformation of tree bark into writing surface, of rough fiber into smooth receptivity, of natural material into cultural medium. The character, like the reality it represents, embodies receptivity, willingness, the feminine principle that receives, that nurtures, that allows, that provides the space, the support, the cooperative foundation without which no creation is possible, no expression achievable, no beauty manifestable in the physical world. Paper, in the Edo period, represents sophisticated technology, refined understanding, centuries of experimentation with natural materials, and processes that transform them into precisely what artistic practice requires. The mulberry trees, growing slowly in mountain soil, absorbing minerals, drinking pure water, reaching towards sunlight, store in their bark the potential for paper, the possibility of becoming the medium through which human thoughts achieve permanent form, through which the invisible architectures of consciousness become visible, tangible, shareable across the distances that usually separate one mind from another. The paper-making process begins with harvesting bark, with the careful selection of bark from trees of the right age, the right size, the right quality. The bark, removed in spring when sap runs high, when the interface between inner wood and outer protection can be separated cleanly, without damage, without waste, contains in its fibers the memory of seasons, of weather, of the particular conditions that shaped its growth, that determined its characteristics, that make it suitable for transformation into the medium of artistic expression. Soaking, the first stage of transformation, softens the bark, begins the breakdown of lignins and resins that bind the fibers together in their natural state. The water, often mountain stream water of exceptional purity, gradually penetrates the cellular structure, loosens the bonds, prepares the material for the beating that will separate individual fibers, that will create the suspension of cellulose particles that, when formed into sheets, becomes paper, becomes possibility, becomes the cooperative foundation for all written communication, all preserved thought, all the ways that human consciousness transcends the limitations of individual mortality through the creation of permanent records, lasting beauty, enduring wisdom. The beating, performed with wooden mallets on stone surfaces, requires strength, rhythm, patience. Hour after hour, the bark fibers are pounded, separated, refined, until they achieve the perfect length, the perfect flexibility, the perfect capacity to bond with their neighbors when formed into sheets. This process, labor-intensive and meditative, connects the papermaker to the material, creates understanding, builds the relationship between human intention and natural response that characterizes all traditional crafts, all authentic arts, all the activities that humans pursue when they seek not just efficiency but beauty, not just function but meaning, not just results but the satisfaction that comes from participating fully, consciously, skillfully, in the transformation of raw material into refined utility, into cooperative beauty, into the tools that serve higher purposes. The paper on which you write, the result of this ancient process, this patient labor, this accumulated wisdom, receives your brushstrokes with perfect responsiveness, with ideal cooperation, with the kind of willing participation that makes true partnership possible. Each fiber, invisible to the naked eye, contributes to the paper's capacity to hold ink without bleeding, to support precise lines without smearing, to preserve brushstrokes with faithful accuracy, while adding its own subtle texture. its own gentle influence, its own contribution to the final beauty that emerges when all elements serve the same purpose, support the same vision, participate in the same creative impulse. Paper, complete now on your growing composition, joins its companions in creating a visual meditation on the elements of calligraphic practice, on the tools and conditions and materials that make beauty possible, that preserve meaning, that allow individual expression to participate in cultural continuity. In the great ongoing conversation between past wisdom and present creativity, between inherited technique and personal vision, between the tried and true and the fresh and original, between tradition and innovation, in their eternal dance of mutual influence, mutual support, mutual enrichment. The silence around your work seems to deepen with each completed character, to become more substantial, more supportive, more alive with the kind of presence that emerges when human activity aligns with natural rhythms, when individual effort serves universal principles, when personal practice becomes a form of worship, of gratitude, of conscious participation in the mystery that allows consciousness to express itself through matter, awareness to manifest through form, spirit to speak through the willing cooperation of earthly materials, human skill, artistic vision, cultural wisdom accumulated through centuries of dedicated practice. Your fourth character emerges, flow, nagare, expressing in its graceful curves the essential nature of good calligraphy, the quality that distinguishes mechanical copying from artistic expression, that separates mere technique from inspired creation, that marks the difference between writing that serves only practical communication and writing that achieves the status of art, of meditation, of visual music that speaks to the eye as music speaks to the ear, as poetry speaks to the mind, as fragrance speaks to the memory, as silence speaks to the deepest layers of awareness that rest beneath thought, beneath activity, beneath all the surface movements of consciousness. Flow in calligraphy cannot be forced, cannot be manufactured, cannot be achieved through effort alone. It emerges naturally, inevitably, when all conditions are perfect, when preparation meets inspiration, when skill serves spirit, when the individual artist becomes transparent to the principles that govern all artistic creation, all aesthetic expression, all the ways that human beings participate in the cosmic creativity that continuously brings forth new beauty, new meaning, new expressions of the fundamental harmony that underlies apparent chaos, that creates order from disorder, that allows complex systems to organize themselves according to principles too subtle, too profound, too beautiful for rational analysis to fully comprehend. The flow that you seek in your calligraphy, that you cultivate through daily practice, that you invite through proper preparation, proper attitude, proper respect for materials and traditions, emerges from the same source as the flow of water in mountain streams, the flow of sap in spring trees, the flow of seasonal change that transforms winter's death into spring's resurrection, that connects ending to beginning, completion to fresh start, the conclusion of one cycle to the inception of the next in the eternal spiral of time, growth, change, the endless creativity that characterizes existence at every level, from the cosmic to the microscopic, from the geological to the personal, from the eternal to the immediate moment in which brush meets paper, ink meets fiber, intention meets responsive material in the perfect cooperation that creates lasting beauty. Your brush, moving now with its own intelligence, its own accumulated wisdom, follows the flow of the character as water follows the contours of landscape, as breath follows the natural rhythm of lungs, as thought follows the logical development of ideas when the mind is clear, unobstructed, free from the interference of anxiety, of forcing, of the kind of self-consciousness that disrupts natural function, that breaks the seamless connection between intention and expression, that separates the artist from the art, the writer from the writing, the creator from the creation, in ways that diminish all participants, that reduce the magic of cooperation to the mechanics of manipulation, the beauty of partnership to the efficiency of use. Flow, completing itself with a final stroke that seems to continue beyond the paper, beyond the room, beyond the immediate moment into the stream of time that carries all artistic expression, all cultural achievement, all the beautiful things that human beings create in their brief participation in the cosmic dance of existence, rests on the white surface like captured movement, like frozen music, like the visible track of invisible grace flowing through willing cooperation between consciousness and matter, between human skill and natural material, between individual creativity and universal principles that govern the emergence of beauty in all its forms, in all its expressions, in all its brief, precious, irreplaceable manifestations. The morning's work continues, character by character, brushstroke by brushstroke, breath by breath. Each mark on paper, each moment of contact between ink and fiber, each small addition to the growing composition participates in silence, emerges from silence, returns to silence like waves arising from the ocean, existing briefly in individual form, then dissolving back into the source from which they emerged, leaving behind only their contribution to the beauty, to the meaning, to the accumulated wealth of human expression that each generation inherits, enjoys, preserves, and passes forward to children not yet born, to students not yet awakened, to artists not yet aware of their calling to serve beauty, to serve truth, to serve the mysterious impulse that calls conscious beings to create, to express, to make visible the invisible splendor that surrounds and interpenetrates all existence. Ink, sumi, emerges next, flowing onto paper like liquid night, like concentrated shadow, like the essence of darkness that makes light visible, that creates the contrast necessary for sight, for meaning, for the kind of clarity that emerges only when opposing forces cooperate rather than conflict, when apparent contradictions reveal themselves as complementary aspects of a larger harmony, a deeper truth, a more complete understanding than either element could achieve alone. The character ink, dense with meaning, rich with associations, connects your present practice to the ancient forests where pine trees grew slowly, accumulating in their resin the essence of sunlight, of mountain air, of the patient processes that transform seed into sapling, sapling into mature tree, tree into the raw material for soot, for the carbon particles that, when mixed with animal glue, become the medium through which consciousness expresses itself visibly, permanently, beautifully. The pine forests, sacred in Japanese tradition, represent longevity, steadfastness, the capacity to remain green through winter, to maintain life when other trees sleep, to embody the eternal principle that consciousness, like evergreen needles, persists through all seasons, all changes, all the surface modifications that affect appearance while leaving essential nature untouched, undiminished, eternally present, eternally capable of expressing itself through whatever medium, whatever circumstances, whatever opportunities present themselves. Your brushwork, flowing now with increasing confidence, with deeper absorption in the process, creates characters that seem to write themselves, that emerge from the cooperating partnership of hand and brush, brush and ink, ink and paper, paper and intention, intention and the accumulated wisdom of centuries of calligraphic practice, of cultural refinement, of the patient development of techniques, of materials, of approaches that serve beauty rather than efficiency, that honor tradition while allowing personal expression, that balance individual creativity with respect for the accumulated wisdom of generations of masters, teachers, dedicated practitioners who have explored every aspect of this ancient art, who have left in their wake not just beautiful examples, but detailed understanding, precise knowledge, subtle insights that continue to guide contemporary practice, to inform present creativity, to connect today's artists to the great flowing river of cultural continuity. Mountain, Yama, rises again on your paper, but this time different, approached from a different angle, with different emphasis, with the fresh perspective that each new encounter with familiar forms provides. The character, though structurally identical to every other writing of Mountain, carries in this particular manifestation something unique, something unrepeatable, something that exists only in this moment, on this paper. Emerging from this particular state of consciousness, this specific quality of attention, this individual brushstroke that has never existed before, will never exist again, but participates fully in the eternal principle that Mountain represents, expresses, embodies across time, across culture, across the countless individual manifestations that collectively preserve and transmit the essential insight that some things endure, some things provide stability. Nothing. Some things reach toward heaven while remaining rooted in earth. Some things offer perspective, elevation, the long view that comes from rising above the immediate concerns, the temporary difficulties, the surface turbulence that usually obscures the underlying peace, the fundamental order, the essential harmony that governs all existence when seen from sufficient height, sufficient distance, sufficient stillness to perceive the patterns, the connections. the relationships that bind all things in networks of mutual influence, mutual support, mutual participation in the great work of existence. The mountains that surround Kyoto, visible from your garden on clear days, invisible today behind curtains of rain clouds, provide not just scenic beauty, but practical service, ecological foundation, spiritual inspiration. They catch the rain, store it in underground streams, release it gradually through springs and wells that supply the city with pure water, that nourish the gardens, that fill the tea kettles, that participate in every aspect of daily life, while remaining, like good art, largely invisible, taken for granted, appreciated fully only by those who understand the complex systems, the intricate relationships, the patient processes that make simple pleasures possible, that support sophisticated culture, that allow urban life to flourish without destroying the natural systems on which it depends. The ink on your brush, renewed for each character, maintains perfect consistency, perfect fluidity, perfect readiness to serve whatever expression your practice brings forth. The grinding process, performed with such care this morning, has created not just a medium, but a partner, not just a tool, but a collaborator, not just ink, but liquid possibility that responds to the slightest variation in pressure, in speed, in angle, in intention, creating lines that carry not just information, but emotion, not just meaning, but feeling, not just communication, but art, beauty, the kind of visual poetry that emerges when technical skill serves aesthetic vision, when trained ability serves inspired intention, when human creativity serves universal principles that govern the emergence of beauty in all its forms. Stream, kawa, flows across your paper now, its strokes curving like water around stones, following the path of least resistance while maintaining its essential direction, its fundamental purpose, its connection to source and destination. This character, like the reality it represents, embodies adaptation, flexibility, the wisdom that knows when to yield and when to persist, when to flow around obstacles and when to wear them away through patient persistence, through the kind of gentle but inexorable pressure that shapes landscapes, that carves canyons, that creates the conditions for life, for growth, for the flourishing of all things that require water, that depend on flow, that participate in the great circulation that connects mountain peak to ocean depth, sky to earth, beginning to end in the eternal cycle that makes all life possible, all growth achievable, all transformation real. The streams that flow through Kyoto, channeled into canals, directed through gardens, controlled but not conquered, provide not just practical water supply, but aesthetic pleasure, spiritual inspiration, daily reminders of the natural processes that continue beneath urban development, that support civilized life, that connect city dwellers to the larger rhythms, the seasonal cycles, the natural laws that govern existence, whether acknowledged or ignored, whether honored or forgotten, whether integrated into daily practice or relegated to weekend visits to temples, to gardens, to the few remaining wild places where natural processes continue undisturbed, where streams still flow according to their own logic, their own timeline, their own understanding of the relationship between beginning and end, source and destination, the eternal and the temporal. Your composition grows, character by character, each edition creating new relationships, new meanings, new possibilities for contemplation, for appreciation, for the kind of seeing that penetrates surface appearance to recognize essential nature, underlying principles, the fundamental patterns that repeat at every scale, in every context, through every medium where consciousness meets matter, where intention encounters responsive material, where the invisible expresses itself through visible form, through audible sound, through tangible texture, through all the ways that spirit manifests in the physical world. That awareness becomes experience, that the eternal enters time while remaining, essentially, timelessly, itself. Breath, kokyu, emerges with particular grace, its strokes flowing like air itself, like the invisible medium that connects internal and external, that bridges individual and environment, that participates simultaneously in personal existence and universal atmosphere, that demonstrates with every inhalation, every exhalation, the fundamental principle of exchange, of relationship, of the impossibility of truly separate existence in a universe where everything affects everything else, where individual action participates in collective consequence, where personal practice contributes to cultural evolution, where small beauties accumulate into the great treasury of human achievement, human aspiration, human recognition that life contains dimensions beyond survival, beyond comfort, beyond the satisfaction of basic needs. Dimensions that call forth the finest expressions of human creativity, human dedication, human willingness to serve something larger than individual desire, larger than personal ambition, larger than the ego that seeks recognition rather than truth, applause rather than authentic expression, success rather than the deep satisfaction that comes from alignment with natural law, with universal principle, with the source from which all beauty flows. The breathing that supports your calligraphy, slow, deep, natural, creates the rhythm that guides your brushwork, that determines the pace of your practice, that connects your individual activity to the vast respiratory system of the living earth, the planet that breathes through forests, through oceans, through the countless plants that exhale oxygen, that create the atmospheric conditions necessary for animal life, for human consciousness, for the kind of awareness that recognizes beauty, that seeks meaning, that finds in artistic practice a way of expressing gratitude, of offering service, of participating consciously in the great work of creation that continues moment by moment, breath by breath, brushstroke by brushstroke, through the willing cooperation of consciousness and matter, spirit and form, individual creativity, and universal principle. Your work enters a deeper phase now, a state of flow where brush moves without conscious direction, where characters emerge from silence, like flowers from earth, like stars from darkness, like the inevitable expression of principles too deep for thought, too fundamental for analysis, too natural for effort, in this state, achieved through proper preparation, through respectful attention to materials, through years of patient practice. The boundary between artist and art dissolves. The separation between writer and writing disappears. The distinction between creator and creation becomes meaningless, irrelevant, as artificial as all the other boundaries that thought imposes on the seamless fabric of existence. The continuous creativity, the eternal now in which all real work, all authentic expression, all genuine beauty emerges naturally, effortlessly, inevitably, when conditions are perfect, when obstacles are absent, when nothing interferes with the natural flow of creativity through willing consciousness, through trained skill, through cooperative materials into permanent beauty, lasting meaning, visible expressions of invisible truth. Beauty, flows onto paper now, its strokes capturing something of what the word points toward, something of the quality that emerges when form serves function perfectly, when appearance expresses essence accurately, when surface reflects depth honestly, when the visible becomes transparent to the invisible, when matter reveals spirit, when time opens onto eternity through the patient accumulation of small perfections, daily practices, humble services to ideals larger than personal ambition, larger than individual life, larger than any single expression while being fully present, completely available, entirely accessible through each particular manifestation, each specific brushstroke, each individual character that emerges from the marriage of consciousness and cooperation, awareness and action, intention and responsive material. The beauty that you seek in your calligraphy, that you cultivate through daily practice, that you invite through proper preparation and respectful attention, emerges not from perfection, but from sincerity, not from flawless technique, but from authentic expression, not from the absence of mistakes, but from the presence of genuine engagement with the work, real love for the materials, true appreciation for the opportunity to participate in traditions larger than individual life, older than personal memory, deeper than conceptual understanding, more vast than any single mind can comprehend, but entirely accessible through direct experience, through the kind of knowing that happens in the body, in the hands, in the immediate present moment when brush touches paper. When ink flows, when beauty emerges like dawn, like spring, like all the natural phenomena that cannot be forced, but can be invited, can be welcomed, can be celebrated when they arrive in their own time, in their own way, carrying their own gifts, their own teachings, their own contributions to the great conversation between human consciousness and the mysterious principles that govern the emergence of meaning, of beauty, of the sacred in everyday life. The silence that surrounds your work, that supports it, that makes it possible, begins to seem like a living presence, a protective spirit, a blessing that has settled over your practice like morning mist, like the gentle rain that prepared this perfect day for contemplative work, for the kind of artistic activity that requires not stimulation, but calm, not excitement, but peace, not the energy of arousal, but but the deeper energy of rest, of centeredness, of the profound stability that emerges when consciousness recognizes its own nature, when awareness becomes aware of itself. When the observer and the observed, the artist and the art, the seeker and the sought, reveal themselves as different aspects of a single reality, different expressions of the same fundamental creativity, different manifestations of the eternal principle that brings form from emptiness, beauty from potential, art from the marriage of consciousness and cooperation, spirit and matter, the invisible source and its visible expressions. Time moves differently in this silence, this flow, this state of absorbed attention where minutes might be hours, hours might be minutes, where the ordinary progression of moments gives way to the eternal now that contains all time, all possibility, all the accumulated wisdom of centuries focused into this single point of contact between brush and paper, between your individual practice and the vast tradition that supports it, that guides it, that flows through it like underground water, like inherited memory, like the breath that connects each conscious being to every other conscious being, to the atmospheric envelope that surrounds the earth, to the cosmic processes that create and maintain the conditions for life, for awareness, for the kind of consciousness that recognizes beauty, that seeks meaning, that finds in artistic practice a pathway to understanding, to peace, to the deep satisfaction that comes from serving something larger than personal desire, larger than individual ambition, larger than the small self that seeks recognition rather than truth, applause rather than authentic expression, success rather than the profound contentment that emerges when daily life becomes a form of worship, when ordinary activities become expressions of the sacred, when simple practices like grinding ink and writing characters become doorways into the deepest mysteries of existence. Your eyelids grow heavy as the perfect silence wraps around you like the softest silk, like morning mist, like the gentle embrace of peace itself. The rhythm of your breathing, slow and natural, carries you deeper into tranquility, deeper into the flowing state where all effort ceases, where all boundaries dissolve, where consciousness rests in its own nature. You drift peacefully into the deep, restful sleep of one who has touched, through patient practice, the eternal source of beauty, of meaning, of the silence from which all sound emerges, to which all sound returns, in which all true art, all authentic expression, all genuine beauty finds its beginning, its support, its ultimate destination. Chapter 4. Strolling through the temple gardens. You set down your brush, the final stroke of your morning's work complete. The ink glistens wet and dark on the washi paper, like a gentle river flowing across snow. Outside your paper screens, the afternoon sun filters through the bamboo grove, casting dancing shadows that sway back and forth, back and forth. Your feet find their way into soft tabi socks, the cotton embracing your skin like morning mist. You slide open the Fusuma door and step onto the polished cedar walkway that connects your small house to the world beyond. The wood feels smooth beneath your feet, worn by countless years of gentle footsteps, yours and those who came before. Today calls you to Ginkaku-ji, the Silver Pavilion, where the gardens hold secrets whispered by centuries of monks and poets. You walk slowly along the stone path, each step deliberate, mindful. The cobblestones beneath your Geta sandals create a soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, 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 like raindrops on a temple roof. Cherry blossom petals drift past your face, pale pink and white, carrying the sweet scent of spring awakening. You pause and watch them spiral downward, each one a tiny meditation on impermanence. The petals land softly on the moss-covered stones, becoming part of the earth once more, the endless cycle of beauty and return. The temple gate appears before you, weathered wood, darkened by rain and time. Two stone lions guard the entrance, their faces serene yet watchful, carved by artisans whose names are lost to history, but whose skill lives on in every curve of stone. You bow slightly, a gesture of respect, and pass beneath the curved roofline where bronze bells hang silent in the still air. Inside the temple grounds, the world transforms. Here, time moves differently. The garden spreads before you like a living scroll painting, every element placed with intention, every stone and tree part of a greater harmony. Gravel paths wind between carefully tended islands of green, where azaleas bloom in soft purples and gentle whites. You follow the path that leads upward, toward the tea house where monks once gathered to discuss poetry and philosophy. The slope is gentle, your breathing steady and calm. Bamboo groves rustle on either side, their leaves whispering ancient secrets in a language older than words. The sound is like water flowing over smooth stones, constant yet ever-changing. A small wooden bridge crosses a narrow stream, the water clear and cold from mountain springs. You pause at the center of the bridge, listening to the gentle murmur of water over rounded stones. Koi fish move lazily beneath the surface, orange and white and gold, their movements like slow calligraphy written in water. They swim without urgency, following currents only they can feel, embodying the peaceful flow you seek in your own life. The path continues upward, past stone lanterns that have stood for 300 years. Each lantern is covered in soft moss, green velvet that speaks of countless rain showers and morning dew. During festivals, these lanterns would glow with warm candlelight, but now they rest in quiet shadow, waiting for evening to transform them once again. You reach a small clearing where a wooden bench sits beneath an ancient maple tree. The bench is smooth from years of visitors, poets and pilgrims and wanderers like yourself, all seeking the same quiet peace. You settle onto the worn wood, feeling it support you like an old friend's embrace. Above, maple leaves filter the sunlight into patches of gold and green, creating a living ceiling that shifts and dances with each gentle breeze. From here, you can see the Silver Pavilion itself, its dark wooden walls and upturned eaves a masterpiece of restrained elegance. The building seems to float on its reflection in the pond below, perfectly balanced between earth and sky, reality and dream. This is where the shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa once retreated from the world, seeking beauty and tranquility in the midst of political turmoil. You close your eyes and let the sounds of the garden wash over you. Somewhere, a temple bell chimes softly, the bronze note hanging in the air like incense smoke. Water trickles over stones in a nearby stream, while bamboo leaves whisper their endless conversation. A nightingale calls from deep within the forest, its song pure and clear, answered by another from across the valley. The breeze carries the scent of pine and cedar, mixed with the delicate fragrance of jasmine blooming somewhere beyond your sight. Each breath fills you with the essence of the garden, the accumulated peace of generations of careful tending. This place has been cultivated not just with tools and water, but with meditation and prayer, intention and love. You open your eyes slowly and notice how the light has changed. Afternoon is giving way to evening, the sun lower now, casting longer shadows across the raked gravel. The patterns in the gravel remind you of water, or clouds, or the flow of thoughts across a quiet mind. The monks who tend this garden rake these patterns fresh each morning, creating temporary art that exists only until the wind and rain erase it, teaching the beauty of impermanence. Rising from the bench, you continue along the path that winds deeper into the garden. Here, the trees grow closer together, creating a canopy of green that filters the light into soft, dancing patterns. Ancient pines stretch their branches wide, their needles dark against the sky. Some of these trees planted centuries ago by monks who knew that future generations would find peace in their shade. A small shrine appears beside the path, little more than a wooden shelter protecting a stone statue of Jizo, the bodhisattva who guides travelers and protects children. Someone has left fresh flowers at his feet, white chrysanthemums and small sprigs of mountain laurel. You pause and offer a silent prayer for all beings to find peace, your thoughts joining the countless prayers that have been whispered in this sacred place. The path leads you to a tea garden, where camellia bushes grow in neat rows. These are the tea plants that provide leaves for the temple's tea ceremony, each bush carefully pruned and tended. The leaves are dark green and glossy, catching the fading light like tiny mirrors. In spring, these bushes will bloom with white flowers, simple and elegant, but for now, they rest in quiet preparation. You sit on a stone beside the tea garden, watching the shadows lengthen. A monk appears on a distant path, his gray robes moving slowly between the trees. His presence so peaceful, it seems part of the garden itself. He tends to a small rock garden, carefully placing stones in patterns that speak to something deeper than decoration, arrangements that invite contemplation and inner stillness. The sound of a bamboo water feature reaches your ears, the hollow thwack of bamboo filling and emptying, marking time not with urgency but with gentle rhythm. Each sound is followed by silence, then the gradual trickle of water filling the bamboo tube again, a meditation on patience and natural cycles. As you sit in the growing quiet, you feel your breath naturally slowing, matching the peaceful rhythm of the garden around you. Your shoulders relax, releasing the small tensions of the day. Your mind, like the raked gravel, becomes smooth and clear, thoughts settling like dust after a gentle rain. The sky above begins to deepen from blue to violet, the first hint of evening's approach. Stars will soon appear between the branches, but for now, the garden holds you in its soft embrace of twilight. You feel connected to all the others who have sat in this same spot. Artists and monks, poets and pilgrims, all finding the same peace you feel now. A small cat appears on the path, temple cats being common guardians of sacred spaces. This one is orange and white, moving with the fluid grace that only cats possess. It approaches without fear, sensing your peaceful energy, and settles nearby to groom itself with slow, deliberate movements. Even the animals here seem touched by the garden's tranquility. The wind chimes hanging from the tea house begin to sing softly. Bronze and bamboo, creating gentle melodies that seem to come from the air itself. Each note is clear and pure, hanging in the stillness before being joined by the next, creating a slow, natural music that needs no composer, no audience, existing simply for the joy of its own being. You notice how the light continues to change, painting the garden in ever softer tones. The white gravel paths now glow with reflected twilight, while the moss-covered stones seem to absorb the fading day, holding light within their green depths. Everything here speaks of patience, of finding beauty in each moment without grasping for more. A gardener appears in the distance, an elderly man whose movements speak of decades spent in these same paths. He carries a bamboo rake, but his work seems more like meditation than labor. He pauses often, studying the patterns in the gravel, adjusting a single stone, creating harmony through the smallest gestures. His presence adds to the garden's peace rather than disturbing it. You rise slowly from your stone seat, feeling as though you're emerging from deep water, surfaced, renewed. The path calls you onward, deeper into the garden's heart, where ancient maples create cathedral spaces between their massive trunks. Here, the light is green and gold, filtered through layers of leaves that rustle with the softest sound, like silk brushing against silk. The main path branches into smaller trails, each leading to its own small revelation. You choose the one that leads toward the sound of water, following the musical voice of a hidden stream. The path is covered in fallen leaves, brown and gold and rust red, creating a soft carpet that cushions each step. The stream reveals itself gradually, first as a shimmer through the trees, then as a clear ribbon of water flowing over polished stones. Ancient stepping stones cross the water, placed by hands that understood both function and beauty. You cross slowly, each stone offering sure footing, the water flowing just inches below your feet with a sound like gentle laughter. On the far side, a small meditation garden waits in perfect solitude. 7 stones sit in raked gravel, their placement seemingly random, yet creating a harmony that pleases the eye and calms the mind. This is a place for sitting quietly, for watching thoughts arise and pass away like clouds in an empty sky. You settle onto a wooden meditation cushion, the fabric soft with age and use. Your back naturally straightens. Your hands rest gently in your lap. Your breathing becomes deeper and more regular. The garden around you continues its quiet life, but you become part of its stillness, your presence adding to rather than disturbing the peace. Minutes pass, or perhaps hours. Time becomes fluid in this sacred space. The light grows softer, the shadows longer, the air cooler and sweeter. You feel yourself sinking deeper into tranquility, your mind clear as the stream, your heart steady as the ancient stones. When you finally rise, the garden seems to nod its approval. You have participated in its peace, added your own quiet energy to the centuries of meditation that have blessed this place. The path back feels familiar now, as if you've walked it many times before, as if you belong here among the stones and streams and whispering bamboo. The temple buildings appear again as you near the entrance, their dark wood and tile roofs, a perfect complement to the natural beauty surrounding them. Lanterns begin to glow softly as evening deepens, warm light spilling onto the pathways, creating pools of gold that guide your way. You pause at the temple gate, turning back for one last look at the garden that has shared its peace with you. The sight fills you with gratitude for beauty freely given, for silence that speaks more clearly than words, for this moment of perfect calm in a busy world. Your feet carry you home along familiar streets, but you bring the garden's peace with you. In your heart, you carry the sound of water over stones, the rustle of bamboo leaves, the gentle wisdom of arranged stones. These gifts will stay with you, influencing your calligraphy, your thoughts, your dreams. As you approach your home, you feel the garden's influence in your very steps. Each footfall is mindful, deliberate, connected to the earth beneath. You have learned something today about patience, about finding beauty in simplicity, about the art of being present in each moment. The paper screens of your house glow warmly in the gathering dusk, welcoming you home to the tools of your trade, the brushes and inkstones, the papers waiting for tomorrow's words. But tonight, you carry within you a deeper understanding, the knowledge that true artistry comes not from technique alone, but from the peace and clarity found in gardens like the one you've left behind. You slide open your door and step into the familiar comfort of your workspace. But everything seems different now, touched by the garden's grace. Your brushes wait with new possibility. Your inkstones seem to hold deeper mysteries. Your blank papers invite not just words, but the silence between words, the space where true meaning dwells. You prepare for sleep, knowing that your dreams will be filled with temple gardens, with the sound of water and wind, with the peaceful presence of stones arranged by wise hands centuries ago. The garden has become part of you, and you part of it, in the endless cycle of peace finding peace, beauty recognizing beauty, stillness welcoming stillness home. Your futon awaits, soft and welcoming, but first you sit quietly by your writing desk, feeling the day's peace settle into your bones. Tomorrow, you will write with new understanding, your brush moving with the same patient grace you witnessed in the temple gardens, your words flowing like water over stone, natural, peaceful, true. The last light fades from your paper screens, and the first stars appear through your window. You feel your eyelids growing heavy, your breath slowing to match the rhythm of the night. The temple garden lives within you now, a source of endless calm, a well of peace that will never run dry. You close your eyes and let the garden's gifts carry you towards sleep. The sound of bamboo in the wind, the trickle of water over stones, the soft whisper of evening air through pine needles. All these gentle sounds create a lullaby that draws you deeper, deeper into restful darkness. Sleep comes as naturally as water finding its course, as inevitable as dawn following night. You drift away on currents of peace, your mind clear as mountain streams, your heart quiet as moss-covered stones, your spirit at rest in the eternal garden of dreams. Chapter 5: Nightfall with Lanterns and Crickets. The evening air flows through your open window like silk, cool and gentle against your skin. You have lit a single paper lantern, its warm glow casting soft shadows across your writing desk, across the brushes standing ready in their holder, like faithful friends waiting for tomorrow's work. Outside, Kyoto settles into its evening rhythm. The sounds of the day fade gradually. Merchants closing their shops, children called home for supper. The city breathing out the last warmth of afternoon and breathing in the cool peace of approaching night. You step onto your small wooden veranda, feeling the smooth planks beneath your bare feet. The air carries the mingled scents of evening, cooking rice from distant kitchens, incense from nearby temples, the green sweetness of dew beginning to form on leaves and grass. Your neighbor lights her paper lantern. Then another appears across the narrow street. Then more, one by one, like fireflies awakening to signal the night. Each lantern glows with warm, honey-colored light, creating pools of softness in the gathering darkness. This is the time when Kyoto transforms, becoming a city of gentle lights and whispered conversations. The crickets begin their evening song, first one, then a few more, then a gentle chorus that will continue until dawn. Their voices rise and fall in natural harmony, a sound that has blessed Japanese evenings for thousands of years. You listen, letting their music become the soundtrack to your evening meditation. A temple bell chimes in the distance, bronze notes rolling across the city like gentle waves. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, filling the air with sacred resonance before fading into the cricket song and evening breeze. Each note reminds you of the day's blessings, the morning's successful calligraphy, the peaceful hours in the temple garden. This moment of perfect stillness. You light a stick of sandalwood incense, watching the thin line of smoke rise straight up in the still air before being caught by an invisible current and carried away into the night. The scent is woody and sweet, grounding you in this moment, this breath, this heartbeat of peace, between the day that was and the night that comes. Your writing desk calls to you, but not for work. Tonight, you sit before it simply to appreciate the tools of your craft. Your finest brush rests in its stand, the bamboo handle smooth from years of use, the tip perfectly pointed despite countless applications to paper. This brush has written love letters and official documents, poems and prayers, each word carrying a piece of your soul into the world. The inkstone sits beside your brush, its dark surface polished to mirror smoothness. You run your finger along its edge, feeling the coolness of the stone, remembering the countless mornings you've ground ink here, mixing water and ink stick with meditative circular motions, preparing not just ink, but preparing your mind for the sacred act of writing. Stacks of washi paper rest nearby, each sheet handmade from mulberry bark by craftsmen who learned their art from their fathers, who learned from their fathers before then. The paper feels alive beneath your touch, slightly textured, ready to receive ink and transform blank potential into meaning and beauty. Through your window, you watch as more lanterns appear throughout the neighborhood. Each light represents a family settling into evening, children being tucked into futons, adults reflecting on the day's work and blessings. The city becomes a constellation of human warmth, each light a star in the earthbound galaxy of home. A night-blooming flower releases its perfume into the cooling air, sweet and mysterious, noticeable only to those who take time to breathe deeply and notice. You step into your small garden, where you grow the plants that inspire your calligraphy: bamboo for strength and flexibility, chrysanthemums for autumn beauty, pine for endurance through all seasons. Your bamboo grove whispers its eternal song, leaves rustling with each breath of wind. Bamboo grows quickly, but bends without breaking, teaching lessons about resilience and grace under pressure. You touch one of the smooth stalks, feeling its strength and flexibility, qualities you try to bring to your own life and art. The chrysanthemums are beginning to bud, preparing for their autumn glory when they will bloom in brilliant yellows and deep purples. These flowers are beloved in Japan, symbols of longevity and noble character, often featured in imperial designs and poetry. Tonight, they rest in quiet preparation, gathering strength for the beauty they will soon share. A small pond reflects your lantern's light, the surface broken occasionally by the gentle rise of a goldfish taking insects from the surface. The fish move slowly, deliberately, their fins creating tiny currents that catch the light like liquid gold. Even they seem affected by the evening's peace, their movements unhurried and graceful. You return to your veranda, settling onto a soft cushion to watch the night complete its gentle arrival. The sky deepens from purple to indigo to the deep blue-black of true night. Stars appear one by one, first the brightest, then the smaller ones as your eyes adjust to the darkness. The same stars that have watched over Japan for millennia, constant companions to emperors and farmers, poets and craftsmen, all those who have found comfort in their steady light. The lanterns in your neighborhood create a soft. A night vendor's voice drifts through the air, calling softly to announce his wares. Tofu, fresh tofu. His voice is musical, trained to carry without disturbing the evening's peace. Soon you hear the soft shuffle of house slippers as neighbors emerge to buy tomorrow's breakfast. Quiet transactions conducted in whispers that honor the night's tranquility. You brew a cup of tea, green tea from leaves grown in the mountains outside Kyoto, processed by methods passed down through generations. The hot water releases the tea's essence, grassy and clean, with a slight astringency that awakens the palate while calming the spirit. You hold the warm ceramic cup in both hands, feeling its heat seep into your palms, grateful for this simple pleasure. The tea's steam rises in delicate spirals, visible in the lantern light, disappearing into the night air like prayers made manifest. Each sip brings you deeper into the evening's embrace, the warm liquid settling in your stomach, spreading comfort through your body like liquid meditation. Across the street, your neighbor practices shamisen, the three-stringed instrument creating melodies that float on the night air like musical incense. The notes are plucked slowly, deliberately, each one allowed to resonate fully before the next begins. The music speaks of longing and beauty, of moonlight on water, of lovers separated by duty, but united in dreams. A bat flickers overhead, its flight path erratic but purposeful as it hunts insects drawn by the lantern light. Even this small hunter moves quietly, respecting the night's peace while fulfilling its own nature. Everything here seems to understand the proper rhythm of evening, the gentle transition from day's activity to night's rest. You finish your tea, setting the cup aside with gratitude for its warmth and comfort. The ceramic holds the memory of heat, gradually cooling until it matches the temperature of the night air, a small lesson in impermanence and the natural flow of all things. Inside your house, you prepare for sleep with the same mindfulness you bring to your calligraphy. You fold your clothes carefully, each gesture deliberate and peaceful. You arrange your futon, smoothing the soft cotton until it becomes a perfect rectangle of comfort, ready to receive your body's rest. But first, you sit once more at your writing desk, not to work, but to offer gratitude. Your tools rest in perfect order: brush and inkstone, paper and water dish, each item placed with care and respect. These simple objects enable you to participate in one of humanity's most beautiful arts, the transformation of thought into visible form, the marriage of meaning and beauty on paper. You blow out the lantern, allowing natural darkness to fill your room. But darkness here is not empty. It is full of peace, pregnant with rest and dreams, and the promise of tomorrow's awakening. Your eyes adjust slowly, revealing the soft shapes of familiar objects, the comforting geometry of home. Outside, the crickets continue their chorus, joined now by other night singers, frogs in distant ponds, the occasional hoot of an owl in the temple grounds. These sounds weave together into nature's lullaby, the same songs that have blessed Japanese nights since the beginning of time. You lie down on your futon, feeling your body sink into its softness like settling into the embrace of night itself. Your head finds the perfect position on your small wooden pillow, filled with buckwheat hulls that rustle softly as you settle, a sound like gentle rain on leaves. The ceiling above you is invisible in the darkness, but you know its familiar beams and angles, the way shadows play across it in the morning light, the small imperfections that make it uniquely yours. This room has witnessed your growth as an artist, your daily dedication to the brush and ink, your quiet satisfaction in work well done. Through your window, you can still see a few lanterns glowing in distant houses, other souls settling into their own evening rituals, their own preparation for sleep and dreams. You feel connected to them all, part of the great human family that has always sought beauty and peace, always gathered in communities of mutual care and shared tranquility. Your breathing naturally deepens, each exhalation releasing the day's small concerns, each inhalation drawing in the night's peace. Your body relaxes completely, muscles loosening like ink spreading across wet paper, naturally, inevitably, perfectly. The shamisen music stops, leaving only the crickets and the gentle whisper of night wind through bamboo. These sounds don't disturb your growing drowsiness. Instead, they support it, like a gentle hand on your forehead, like your mother's lullabies from childhood, familiar and comforting and infinitely peaceful. Your mind begins to drift, thoughts becoming as light and insubstantial as incense smoke. Images from the day float through your consciousness. The temple garden's beauty, the careful arrangement of stones, the goldfish moving slowly in their pond. All these memories, soft and dreamlike now, losing their edges, becoming part of the flowing river of sleep. The last conscious sensation is the feeling of your own breath, in and out, steady and natural as waves on a distant shore. Your body knows how to sleep, just as flowers know how to close their petals at night, just as crickets know when to begin their evening song. You surrender to this ancient wisdom, trusting in the body's need for rest, the mind's desire for peaceful dreams. Sleep comes like a gentle tide, washing over you in slow waves, carrying away the last fragments of waking consciousness. You drift deeper, supported by the night's embrace, cradled by the eternal rhythm of sleeping and waking that connects you to all life. Your dreams are filled with temple gardens, with lantern light reflecting on quiet ponds, with the sound of water flowing over stones worn smooth by centuries of patient current. In sleep, you continue to practice your art, your dream brush moving across endless scrolls of cloud and starlight, writing poems in languages made of moonbeams and cricket song. The night holds you safely, its darkness not empty, but full of rest and restoration. Around you, Kyoto sleeps. Its temples and gardens and houses all settled into the same peaceful rhythm. The lanterns burn lower, the crickets sing softer, the whole city breathing in harmony with the natural cycle of rest. Hours pass in perfect stillness, your body renewing itself, your mind processing the day's beauty and wisdom, your spirit connecting with the deeper currents of peace that flow beneath all things. This is the gift of sleep. This return to innocence, this daily practice of letting go and trusting in renewal. Dawn is still hours away, but when it comes, you will wake refreshed and clear, ready once again to take up your brush and practice your art. The temple garden will still be there, its stones and streams and bamboo groves waiting to share their wisdom with anyone who approaches with a peaceful heart. But for now, there is only the deep contentment of perfect rest, the body's wisdom expressed in complete relaxation, the mind's peace reflected in dreams of beauty and tranquility. You sleep as the gardens sleep, as the temples rest, as the whole city settles into the embrace of night. The stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns, marking time on a scale that makes human worries seem small and distant. You are part of this larger rhythm now, connected to the eternal dance of earth and sky, sleeping participant in the cosmic meditation that never ends. Your breath becomes the wind through bamboo, your heartbeat the distant temple drum, your dreams the flowing water that connects all things in its patient journey toward the sea. In sleep, you become one with the peaceful essence you spent the day cultivating, the garden's gift finally and fully received. The night wraps around you like silk, soft and protective and infinitely gentle. In this cocoon of darkness and peace, you rest completely, trusting in the morning's return, confident in the cycle of rest and renewal that sustains all life. Sleep deepens, becomes ocean vast, becomes mountain still, becomes the perfect expression of peace that you have sought in temple gardens and found. Finally, in the simple act of closing your eyes and letting go, letting the night's embrace carry you into dreams where cricket songs become sutras, where lantern light writes poetry on the darkness, where every breath is a prayer of gratitude for this moment, this peace, this perfect rest. The last sensation is warmth, not from any external source, but from within, the warm glow of a day well spent, a heart at peace, a mind clear as temple pond water, ready to receive whatever dreams the night may bring, ready to wake tomorrow renewed and grateful for the gift of another day in this beautiful, peaceful, perfectly ordinary life of quiet artistry and deep contentment. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the night breeze hums softly through the bamboo grove outside your window. You drift deeper, deeper, into a deep, restful sleep where temple gardens bloom eternal and peace flows like water over stones, forever and ever and ever.